Hi everyone, welcome back to the Red Umbrella channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today, we'll be looking at one disturbing theory for every American dad character. But before we begin, I'd just like to kindly ask you all to subscribe. It's completely free and it really helps us improve the videos for this wonderful community we've managed to build. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's begin. Starting it off with, Stan Smith is dead and living in his own personal heaven. Stan Smith has been dead for years, and everything we see in American Dad is his personal heaven, custom built around his deepest desires and worldview. The evidence is everywhere once you start looking for it. The show presents itself as a sitcom about a CIA agent and his family, but the sheer impossibility of what happens episode after episode suggests something else is going on. Stan survives situations that would kill anyone else. His family stays together despite constant dysfunction, and the world consistently bends to accommodate his perspective. This is exactly what heaven would look like for someone like Stan, a place where he gets to be the hero, keep his family close, and live out his patriotic fantasies forever. The first piece of evidence is how often Stan should have died but walks away without consequence. He works for the CIA in a job that puts him in constant danger, yet he survives explosions, gunfights, falls from incredible heights, and encounters with foreign agents that should absolutely kill him. Regular people do not survive these things. Stan faces life-threatening situations in nearly every adventure, but he always makes it home to Langley Falls. His body should have given out years ago from the sheer physical trauma, but he keeps going like someone who cannot actually die because they are already dead. The show treats his survival as comedy, but it points to something deeper. Stan exists in a reality where the normal rules do not apply to him because this reality was designed specifically for him. His family dynamic provides even stronger evidence. Despite everything Stan puts them through, the Smiths always stay together. Stan makes terrible decisions constantly. He lies to Francine, endangers the kids, and acts selfishly in ways that would destroy most marriages and families. Yet Francine always takes him back. The kids always forgive him. They reset to their baseline relationship no matter how badly Stan messes up. This is not how real families work. Real families have breaking points. Real marriages end when one person repeatedly betrays trust and acts without regard for their partner. But in Stan's heaven, his family will never leave him. They might get angry, they might punish him temporarily, but they will always come back because Stan's deepest fear is losing them. Heaven would not let that fear come true. The existence of Roger alone suggests this is not normal. Reality. An alien lives in their house. The CIA knows about Roger but allows this arrangement to continue. Roger has hundreds of personas and causes chaos throughout Langley Falls, yet the family keeps him around. Roger represents something important in Stan's heaven. He is the wild card, the element of chaos that makes life interesting. Stan needs Roger because heaven cannot be boring. A perfect suburban life with no challenges would be hell for someone like Stan. Roger provides the excitement and unpredictability that Stan craves, while never actually threatening the core stability of his existence. Roger can push Stan, frustrate him, and create problems, but he will never truly destroy what Stan has built. That is the bargain of this heaven. Klaus fits into this framework as well. A German man's brain in a fish's body is absurd, but Klaus serves a purpose in Stan's personal paradise. Klaus wants things he can never have, particularly a human body and romantic fulfillment. His frustrated desires make Stan feel superior by comparison. Stan gets to be the one with the real life, the real body, the real family. Klaus is there to remind Stan how good he has it. Every time Klaus complains about his situation, it reinforces that Stan is blessed. In a strange way, Klaus is there to make Stan feel grateful for his existence, which is exactly what you would want in heaven. The structure of Stan's job reveals more about the nature of this reality. He works for the CIA, which fulfills his patriotic fantasies and gives him purpose. He gets to feel important, to be part of something bigger than himself, to fight for America. But the actual content of his work is bizarre and inconsistent. Sometimes he is on dangerous missions. Sometimes he is doing mundane office work. Sometimes the CIA is competent. Sometimes it is completely incompetent. The work adapts to whatever Stan needs at that moment. If he needs to feel like a hero, a mission appears. If he needs to be humbled, the CIA cuts him down. His job is not bound by the logic of what a real CIA agent would do, because it exists purely to serve Stan's emotional and psychological needs. The town of Langley Falls operates on dream logic. Things happen there that make no sense in normal reality. The same locations appear and disappear as needed. Characters show up when the story requires them and vanish when they are no longer useful. The town seems to have whatever Stan needs at any given moment, whether that is a specific store, a particular person, or a convenient plot device. This is how dreams and afterlives work in stories. The environment shapes itself around the protagonist's needs. Langley Falls is not a real place following real rules. It is a stage set for Stan's eternal existence. Look at how consequences work in Stan's world. He does terrible things regularly. He lies, cheats, steals, and hurts people. In normal reality, these actions would pile up and eventually destroy his life. He would lose his job, his family would leave him, and he would face legal consequences. But in American Dad, consequences are temporary at best. Stan might face immediate punishment for his actions, but the long-term damage never materializes. His family always forgives him. His job is always secure. His life resets to baseline. This is not how reality works, but it is exactly how a personal heaven would work. Stan gets to make mistakes and learn lessons without facing permanent consequences. He gets infinite chances to be better, but he never has to fundamentally change because change is painful, and heaven should not be painful in ways that last. The show's timeline provides another clue. The kids do not age in any meaningful way. Steve stays in high school. Haley stays in her early 20s. Time passes, holidays happen, but the fundamental state of the family never progresses forward. This is the eternal present of the afterlife. In real life, children grow up and leave. Parents age and die. Relationships evolve and sometimes end. But Stan's heaven is frozen at the point where his family still needs him. Steve will always be his awkward teenage son who looks up to him. Haley will always be his rebellious daughter who challenges him but ultimately cares. Francine will always be his wife in the prime of her life. They are preserved exactly as Stan wants them forever. The absurdity level of what happens in each episode supports this theory. Regular sitcoms have heightened reality, but American Dad goes beyond that into pure fantasy. The things that happen are not just unlikely, they are impossible. The laws of physics do not apply consistently. People survive things that would kill them. Situations resolve in ways that defy logic. This is the logic of dreams and afterlife fantasies, not reality. Stan's heaven is not bound by the rules of the living world. It can be as wild and impossible as it needs to be because it is not real in the conventional sense. Stan's character flaws provide insight into why his heaven looks the way it does. He is stubborn, self-centered, and often blind to how his actions affect others. His heaven reflects these traits. The world revolves around him. His perspective is consistently validated even when he is wrong. He gets to be the hero of every story, even stories where he is clearly the problem. This is a heaven designed by and for Stan's ego. It gives him what he thinks he wants, which is to be important, to be right, to be the center of his family's world. A more enlightened person's heaven might look different, but Stan's heaven looks exactly like we would expect based on who he is. The relationship between Stan and Francine reveals another layer. Francine is beautiful, devoted, and always available. She has her own personality and desires, but ultimately she exists in relation to Stan. She challenges him but always comes back. She is the perfect wife for Stan's fantasy, someone who is independent enough to be interesting but dependent enough to never truly leave. The dynamics of their marriage swing wildly from episode to episode, from deeply romantic to completely dysfunctional, but they always end up together. This is Stan's idealized marriage, where he gets the excitement of drama without the real risk of loss. Steve's role in this heaven is particularly telling. He represents Stan's legacy and his chance to correct his own childhood mistakes. Stan gets to be the father he wishes he had, even though he often fails at it. But the key is that he gets infinite opportunities to try again. Steve will never grow up and move away. Stan will never run out of time to get it right. The father-son relationship is preserved in amber at the point where it is most meaningful to Stan, where Steve still needs guidance and Stan still has the chance to shape him. This is a father's dream, to have eternal time with his son before the son becomes fully independent. Haley serves a different purpose. She is the challenge to Stan's worldview, the liberal daughter who forces him to defend his beliefs. But she is a safe challenge. She will never truly reject him. She will never cut him out of her life permanently. She gives Stan someone to argue with, someone to test himself against, but within the safe bounds of family love. Her presence makes Stan feel intellectually engaged without ever threatening the foundation of his existence. She is the loyal opposition, emphasis on loyal. The various reality-bending episodes and alternate timelines that appear throughout the series are not breaks from the normal continuity. They are further evidence that Stan exists in a malleable afterlife reality. Heaven can be whatever it needs to be. Stan can experience different versions of events, different possible lives, different outcomes, and then return to his baseline existence. These are not just creative storytelling choices. They represent the fluid nature of Stan's afterlife, where he can explore different possibilities without commitment, where he can die and come back, where he can experience alternate realities and then snap back to his preferred default. The show's approach to death itself is revealing. Characters die and return with regularity. Death is treated as temporary and reversible. This is not how the living world works, but it is exactly how an afterlife would work. If Stan is already dead, then death within his heaven has no permanent meaning. It is just another experience, another adventure, another story to tell. The casual relationship with mortality in American Dad is not just dark comedy. It is a window into the actual nature of this reality, where death cannot happen because everyone involved is already beyond death. Roger's personas deserve deeper examination. He creates elaborate characters and lives them fully, sometimes for extended periods. These personas affect the world around him in real ways, changing relationships and outcomes. Roger's ability to reshape reality through belief and performance mirrors how the entire world of American Dad operates. If Roger can become whoever he wants through sheer will and costume changes, it suggests the whole reality is similarly malleable. In Stan's heaven, belief shapes reality. Stan believes he is a great CIA agent, a good father, a patriot, and therefore he is these things regardless of evidence. Roger demonstrates this principle overtly with his personas, but the entire show operates on the same logic. The structure of each episode follows a pattern that reinforces this theory. Stan makes a decision based on his worldview. That decision creates chaos. The chaos spirals out of control. Stan faces consequences that seem devastating. But then resolution comes, often through absurd means, and Stan learns a lesson without facing permanent damage. This is the cycle of growth and redemption that Stan wanted in life but could never quite achieve. In heaven, he gets to experience this cycle endlessly. He gets to feel the satisfaction of learning and growing without the pain of permanent loss or irreversible mistakes. The government and authority structures in American Dad's world are worth examining. They are simultaneously all-powerful and completely incompetent, depending on what the story needs. The CIA can do anything when it serves the plot, but it can also be buffoonish and ineffective. This inconsistency makes sense if we understand these institutions as projections of Stan's beliefs about authority. Sometimes Stan wants to believe in powerful, effective government that can solve problems. Sometimes he needs to feel superior to bureaucratic incompetence. His heaven gives him both, switching between them as his emotional needs dictate. Stan's relationship with America itself is central to understanding his heaven. He is hyper-patriotic, defining much of his identity through his love of country. In his personal heaven, America is always worth defending, always worth his sacrifice, always the greatest nation. The show never undermines this on a fundamental level, even when it satirizes specific policies or politicians. Stan's belief in America is validated because it is core to who he is. His heaven would not challenge this belief in any way that could break it. America gets to be both the ideal Stan believes in and the flawed reality he fights to improve, giving him purpose without disillusionment. The casual acceptance of the impossible by other characters is another sign. Nobody in Langley Falls seems appropriately shocked by the things that happen. An alien lives openly in the Smith house, and people just accept it. Klaus is a talking fish, and nobody questions it deeply. Absurd events happen, and characters move on quickly. This is not how real people respond to the impossible. Real people would have sustained reactions, investigations, consequences. But in Stan's heaven, the impossible is simply part of the fabric of reality. Other characters accept it because they are part of the dream, extensions of the heaven reality built for Stan. Think about the show's approach to Stan's past. We get glimpses of his childhood, his relationship with his father, his early CIA career, but these elements are inconsistent and shift based on story needs. This is how memory works in dreams and how personal mythology works in the afterlife. Stan's past is not a fixed thing. It is whatever it needs to be to explain who he is now and why he makes the choices he makes. His heaven includes a flexible past that serves his present, just as dreams draw on memory without being bound by actual chronology or consistency. The evidence all points to the same conclusion. Stan Smith died at some point before the series began, probably in service to his country, probably believing he was doing the right thing. What we watch in American Dad is not his life continuing. It is his reward, his personal heaven shaped by his beliefs, desires, and fears. He gets his family forever. He gets to be important forever. He gets to fight for America forever. He gets friendship, chaos, purpose, and love in an eternal cycle that never truly ends or changes in ways that would destroy what he values most. The show is not a sitcom about a CIA agent. It is a window into one man's perfect afterlife, absurd and violent and loving, and exactly what Stan Smith would want if he could design paradise himself. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the theory, Roger is a god-level entity, using the Smith family as his playground. Roger is not just an alien living with the Smith family. He is a god-level entity who chose this family as his personal playground, and everything that happens in American Dad serves as entertainment and experimentation. The show presents Roger as a stranded alien dependent on the Smiths for shelter, but the evidence suggests the opposite. Roger is in complete control. He stays with them not because he needs to, but because he wants to. The Smiths are his toys. Langley Falls is his sandbox, and the entire world bends to accommodate whatever game Roger wants to play on any given day. Start with the most obvious evidence, Roger's personas. These are not simple disguises or acts of deception. When Roger becomes a persona, reality itself changes to accommodate him. He puts on a wig and glasses, and suddenly he has a complete backstory, credentials, relationships, and a life that other characters accept without question. People who should recognize Roger do not. Documents appear that confirm his new identity. Jobs manifest that he is somehow qualified for. This is not clever disguising. This is reality manipulation on a fundamental level. Roger does not pretend to be other people. He actually becomes them, and the world rewrites itself to make it true. Only a being with godlike power over reality could do this. The scope of what Roger can become reveals the depth of his power. He has been everything from a simple store clerk to the president of a homeowners association, to a wedding planner, to a therapist, to a news anchor. Each persona comes with skills Roger should not have. He performs surgery as Dr. Penguin despite no medical training. He successfully runs businesses despite no experience. He manipulates legal systems and government institutions with ease. These are not talents Roger learned. They are abilities that manifest when he needs them, because Roger can simply decide to be capable of anything. He is not bound by the limitations of learning or experience. He operates outside those rules entirely. Look at Roger's resources. He has unlimited money whenever a persona requires it. He owns properties all over town that appear and disappear based on narrative need. He has access to materials, equipment, and connections that make no sense for an alien hiding in an attic. Where does this wealth come from? The show never explains it because it cannot be explained through normal means. Roger has infinite resources because he is not subject to economic reality. He is playing a game where he can spawn whatever he needs. Money, property, influence, power. These things simply manifest around Roger because he wills them into existence. The Smiths' dependence on Roger is suspicious when examined closely. Stan originally took Roger in because the CIA asked him to, but that does not explain why Roger stays or why the family tolerates his behavior. Roger is actively destructive. He ruins their lives regularly. He steals from them, manipulates them, endangers them, and shows no real loyalty. Any normal family would kick him out. Any normal person would leave after the first few disasters Roger creates, but the Smiths cannot get rid of Roger. They try occasionally, but it never works. Roger always comes back, and they always accept him back. This is not realistic family dynamics. This is the behavior of people who have no choice, people who are bound to Roger by something beyond their control. Consider what happens when characters try to oppose Roger seriously. They fail. Every single time. Steve tries to stand up to Roger and gets crushed. Stan tries to control Roger and ends up humiliated. Francine tries to outsmart Roger and he is always 3 steps ahead. Roger wins every conflict that matters. He might lose small battles for the sake of story, but he never truly loses. His position in the house is never actually threatened. His safety is never genuinely at risk. He has plot armor that goes beyond normal protagonist protection. Roger cannot lose because he is the one writing the rules. The show's structure supports this theory. Many episodes center entirely on Roger and his personas, while the Smith family becomes supporting characters in his stories. The show is called American Dad and is supposedly about Stan, but Roger dominates screen time and narrative focus. This makes sense if Roger is the actual protagonist, the god figure whose adventures we are watching. The Smiths are his recurring cast, the familiar faces he returns to between personas, but they are not the main event. Roger is the main event. The show follows his interests and desires, not theirs. Roger's age and history indicate he is far more than he appears. He has lived for thousands of years according to various episodes. He has been on Earth much longer than the official story suggests. He references historical events he personally witnessed. He has connections and knowledge that span centuries. This is not a normal alien. This is an immortal being who has watched human civilization develop. Someone with that much time and experience would have accumulated incredible power and knowledge. Roger has had millennia to understand how reality works and how to manipulate it. His personas are not recent developments. They are a skill he has perfected over countless lifetimes. The way other characters react to Roger's personas reveals something fundamental. They do not just fail to recognize Roger, they actively participate in the reality he creates. When Roger is a persona, people have memories of that person existing before. They have relationships and history with the persona. This retroactive continuity is impossible in normal reality. You cannot create a past that other people remember, but Roger does this routinely. He inserts himself into the timeline and everyone's memories adjust. This is reality manipulation at the highest level. Roger is not fooling people. He is actually changing what is real and what is true. Look at how Roger's personas affect the physical world. When he is Jeannie Gold wedding planner, he has an office that exists in real space. When he is Professor Jordan Edelstein, he has a university position with records and credentials. These are not fake fronts that crumble under scrutiny. They are real things that exist in the world until Roger no longer needs them, at which point they vanish as if they never were. Roger is creating and destroying reality on demand. He makes things real through will alone and unmakes them just as easily. Roger's relationship with truth is telling. He lies constantly, but his lies have a strange way of becoming true. He makes up stories that then manifest in reality. He claims credentials that suddenly become verified. He invents relationships that other characters remember having. There is no distinction between what Roger says and what becomes real because Roger's words have creative power. When he speaks, reality listens. This is the power of a god, the ability to speak things into existence. The attic where Roger lives is larger than it should be. It contains more rooms and space than the house's exterior suggests. It changes layout based on what Roger needs. Sometimes it is a simple living space. Sometimes it is a sprawling apartment with multiple themed rooms. The attic is not bound. It is not by normal geometry because it is Roger's personal dimension within the house. He has created a space that follows his rules rather than physics. The fact that the family accepts this impossible space without question shows how thoroughly they exist under Roger's influence. Roger's personas often have supernatural knowledge. They know things Roger should not know. They understand situations without explanation. They can predict outcomes and manipulate events with uncanny accuracy. This is not Roger being clever or lucky. This is Roger having access to information beyond normal perception. He sees the bigger picture because he is the one painting it. He knows how things will unfold because he is directing the outcome. His personas succeed because Roger has already decided they will succeed. The consequences of opposing Roger are worth examining. Characters who genuinely threaten Roger or try to expose him face disproportionate punishment. They do not just lose, they are destroyed, humiliated, or erased from the story entirely. Roger's vengeance is creative and absolute. This is not the behavior of someone vulnerable or dependent. This is the behavior of someone with ultimate power who occasionally lets others think they have a chance before crushing them. Roger plays with his enemies the way a cat plays with a mouse, not because he is cruel, but because the game is more entertaining than immediate victory. Think about Roger's emotional control over the family. He can make them love him or hate him at will. He manipulates their emotions effortlessly. One moment they are ready to throw him out, the next, they cannot imagine life without him. These are not natural emotional swings. They are Roger adjusting how the family feels about him based on what he needs from them at any given moment. He is playing with their emotions like instruments, creating whatever response serves his current narrative. The other aliens in American Dad lore are worth considering. When they appear, they treat Roger with deference or fear. They recognize something in him that the Smiths do not see. They know Roger is dangerous, powerful, special. The alien episodes hint that Roger is not a typical member of his species. He is something more, something other. His own kind fear him or avoid him, which suggests they understand what he is capable of in ways humans cannot. Roger's indifference to danger is another clue. He walks into situations that should terrify him without concern. He faces death threats, violence, and disaster with casual dismissal. This is not bravery or stupidity. This is the confidence of someone who knows nothing can actually harm them. Roger has no real fear because he cannot actually be destroyed. He is playing a game where death has no meaning, where consequences are temporary, where he can reset anything he does not like. The show's reality becomes more chaotic and absurd the more Roger is involved. Episodes focused on Roger abandon normal logic entirely. Physics stops working. Time becomes flexible. Impossible things happen without explanation. This is because Roger's presence weakens the boundaries of normal reality. When he is the focus, the world becomes more dreamlike and malleable because he is actively exercising his reality-shaping powers. The Smith family episodes maintain more normalcy because Roger is less engaged, letting baseline reality run on autopilot. Roger's personas sometimes exist simultaneously. He can be multiple people at once in different locations, living separate lives that all somehow work. This is not something an alien with makeup can do. This is duplication or omnipresence. Roger is not limited to a single form or location. He can fragment himself across multiple identities and experiences, living several lives at the same time. This is divine-level multitasking, the ability to be everywhere and everyone at once. The way personas end is significant. When Roger is done with a persona, they simply stop existing. There is no transition, no explanation to the people who knew them. The persona vanishes and everyone forgets or stops caring. Jobs are left unfilled. Relationships end without closure, lives are interrupted, and nobody questions it. Roger unmakes what he has made, and the world accepts it. People who should ask where the persona went do not ask. They move on as if that person never mattered. Roger is erasing himself from timelines and taking all consequences with him. Look at how the show treats Roger's wants versus the family's wants. When Roger wants something, the episode bends to make it happen. When the family wants something, obstacles appear, conflicts arise, lessons must be learned. Roger gets what he wants through force of will. The family has to struggle and grow. This is the difference between a god and mortals. Roger shapes reality to his desire. The family must adapt to the reality Roger creates. They are playing a game where the rules change based on Roger's mood, and they can never win because Roger owns the game board. Roger's lack of character growth is another indicator. The Smith family learns lessons and evolves, even if they reset between episodes, but Roger never truly changes. He is the same chaotic, selfish, creative force from beginning to end. This is because Roger is already complete. He is not on a journey. He is not trying to become something better. He is a fixed point around which others orbit. Gods do not grow. They simply are. The show occasionally hints that Roger could leave anytime he wants. He has the technology, the resources, the ability. He is not trapped on Earth. He is not dependent on the Smiths for survival. He chooses to stay, which means this situation serves a purpose for him. That purpose is entertainment and experimentation. Roger is using the Smith family to experience human life in all its variations. Through his personas, he lives thousands of lives. Through his manipulation of the family, he explores human relationships and emotions. He is conducting a massive ongoing experiment, and the Smiths are his subjects. The meta-nature of some Roger plots suggests he is aware of the show itself. He breaks the fourth wall more than other characters. He comments on narrative structure. He seems to understand he is in a story. This is God-level awareness, the ability to see beyond the reality you inhabit and understand the larger structure. Roger knows he is in a show because he is the one creating the show. He is the author and the actor, writing the Smith family's story as he goes and starring in it for his own amusement. Roger's powers extend beyond the house and town. His personas have national and international reach. He affects global events through his various identities. One alien living in an attic should not have this kind of influence, but Roger does because his power is not limited by physical location or normal constraints. He can touch any part of the world he wants, insert himself into any situation, become anyone he needs to be. The entire planet is his playground, not just the Smith house. The family's inability to fully comprehend what Roger is makes sense if he is operating on a level above human understanding. They see an alien. They do not see a god. They cannot see a god because their perception is limited by their mortal nature. Roger reveals himself in pieces, shows fragments of his power, but never the full scope because that would break the game. If the Smiths truly understood what Roger was, they would stop being useful toys. Their ignorance is necessary for Roger's entertainment. Every aspect of American Dad's reality supports the same conclusion. Roger is not a character in the Smith family's story. The Smith family are characters in Roger's story. He is the central force, the reality manipulator, the god-level entity playing an eternal game with mortal pawns. He chose this family specifically, set them up in this town, and arranged their lives to give himself maximum entertainment. What we watch is not a family dealing with an alien houseguest. We are watching a god amuse himself with his favorite toys, creating elaborate scenarios and personas to see how his humans react. The show is Roger's playground, and the Smiths are his forever playmates, bound to him by power they cannot comprehend and cannot escape. American Dad is not their story. It is Roger's story. It always has been. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Francine Smith is a retired Black Ops asset, still on deep cover as a suburban wife theory. Francine Smith is not a simple housewife who happened to marry a CIA agent. She is a retired Black Ops asset who was placed in deep cover as a suburban wife, and her entire life in Langley Falls is an ongoing mission that never truly ended. The show presents Francine as the normal one in a chaotic family, but the evidence suggests she is the most dangerous person in the house. Her skills, her past, her reactions to impossible situations and her ability to manipulate everyone around her point to extensive training in espionage and covert operations. Francine is not adapting to life with a CIA agent. She was always part of this world, and her role as Stan's wife is the greatest cover identity ever constructed. Start with Francine's combat abilities. She is not just capable of defending herself, she is lethally efficient when violence is required. Francine fights with precision and skill that housewives do not naturally possess. She handles weapons with familiarity that suggests extensive training. When danger appears, Francine does not panic or freeze like a civilian would. She assesses, acts, and neutralizes threats with the calm efficiency of someone who has done this countless times before. Her body remembers this training even when she pretends to be helpless. You cannot fake muscle memory. You cannot improvise the kind of tactical thinking Francine displays under pressure. These are learned skills, refined through repetition and real-world application. Her marksmanship is particularly revealing. Francine shoots with accuracy that surpasses casual gun familiarity. She understands weapon mechanics, proper stance, breath control, and sight alignment. These are not things people pick up from being married to a CIA agent. These are trained skills. Francine has spent time on ranges, probably specialized tactical ranges, learning to kill efficiently with firearms. When she holds a gun, there is no hesitation, no uncertainty. She knows exactly what she is doing, which means someone taught her, and that teaching was professional grade. Look at Francine's pain tolerance and physical resilience. She endures injuries that would incapacitate normal people and continues functioning. She has been shot, stabbed, beaten, and subjected to physical trauma that should require hospitalization. Yet she recovers impossibly fast and shows little lasting damage. This is not normal human durability. This is the result of conditioning, the kind of conditioning intelligence agencies use to prepare assets for fieldwork. Francine's body has been trained to push through pain, to function under duress, to recover quickly from damage. Her physical capabilities exceed what her suburban lifestyle would explain. Her manipulation skills are expert level. Francine does not just influence people. She profiles them, identifies their weaknesses, and exploits those weaknesses with surgical precision. She reads body language, detects lies, and adapts her approach based on psychological assessment. These are tradecraft skills. Intelligence operatives spend years learning to manipulate targets, to build rapport, to extract information without the target realizing they are being worked. Francine does this naturally in every interaction. She plays people like instruments, creating whatever emotional response serves her purpose. This is not intuition or natural charm. This is training. Think about how Francine handles Roger. An alien with godlike reality manipulation powers lives in her house, and Francine manages him better than anyone else. She knows exactly how to push Roger's buttons, when to indulge him, when to confront him, and when to manipulate him into doing what she wants. Managing Roger requires understanding abnormal psychology and adapting to an entity that operates outside human norms. Francine does this effortlessly because her training prepared her for unusual assets and unpredictable situations. Roger is just another difficult asset to manage, and Francine has handled difficult assets before. Her past is deliberately vague and inconsistent. Francine's backstory changes depending on who is asking and what the situation requires. Details about her childhood, her family, and her life before Stan shift and contradict. This is not sloppy writing. This is a cover story with multiple versions, the kind of layered background intelligence agencies create for deep cover operatives. Francine has different stories for different audiences because she was trained to compartmentalize her past and reveal only what serves the mission. The truth of who Francine was before Stan is buried under layers of misdirection and strategic deception. Her parents are suspicious when examined closely. Her father has connections and resources that suggest he was not a simple civilian. Her mother displays capabilities that exceed normal suburban parentage. Francine comes from a family embedded in the intelligence world, which means she was likely identified and recruited young, possibly groomed from childhood for this life. Intelligence agencies love recruiting from families already in the game. It ensures loyalty, provides natural cover, and creates multi-generational assets. Francine is not the first in her family to do this work. She inherited the mission. Look at how Francine met Stan. The official story is romantic chance, but examine the details and it falls apart. She was in the perfect place at the perfect time to encounter a rising CIA agent. She had exactly the qualities Stan would find irresistible. She built the relationship with precision, moving from meeting to marriage with efficiency that suggests planning rather than organic romance. Intelligence agencies arrange marriages for cover constantly. A CIA agent needs a wife who can handle the lifestyle, maintain security, and support the mission without compromising it. Francine is that perfect wife because she was designed to be that perfect wife. Her housewife persona is too perfect. Francine plays the role flawlessly, hitting every stereotype and expectation. She cooks, she cleans, she manages the household with ruthless efficiency. But watch closely and you see the performance underneath. Francine is playing housewife the way an actress plays a role with every gesture calculated, every response measured. She has studied this character and performs it brilliantly, but it is a performance. The real Francine is buried underneath, watching, calculating, maintaining the cover even when no external threat exists because deep cover never ends. Her language skills hint at international training. Francine occasionally displays fluency in languages she should not know. She understands cultural references from countries she has never supposedly visited. She navigates international situations with ease and familiarity. These are not skills you develop in suburban Virginia. These are the result of extensive language training and international deployment. Francine has operated overseas. She has lived in foreign countries, built cover identities there, and completed missions that required cultural assimilation. Her housewife life is domestic, but her capabilities are global. Think about Francine's social network. She builds relationships throughout Langley Falls with strategic precision. She knows everyone, has connections everywhere, and can call in favors from people in positions of power and influence. This is not natural social butterfly behavior. This is network building, the kind intelligence operatives do to create assets and information sources. Every friend Francine has serves a purpose. Every relationship she maintains provides access or leverage. She has built an intelligence network disguised as a social circle, and she maintains it constantly without anyone realizing they are part of her operation. Her financial knowledge is suspicious. Francine manages the household finances with sophistication that exceeds simple budgeting. She understands money laundering, offshore accounts, and financial manipulation. She has hidden resources and backup funds that Stan does not know about. Intelligence operatives maintain escape funds and hidden resources in case their cover is blown and they need to disappear. Francine has these systems in place, still operational, still maintained, because she knows her cover could collapse at any moment and she needs to be ready to run. Look at how Francine handles the insanity of her daily life. Alien encounters, CIA missions gone wrong, Roger's personas destroying everything, and Francine adapts to all of it without breaking. Normal people would crack under this pressure. Normal people would demand explanations, insist on stability, or leave entirely. But Francine stays and adapts because chaos is familiar to her. She operated in war zones, handled crises, and maintained cover under impossible circumstances. Her life in Langley Falls is stable compared to her previous deployments. This is retirement for her, not hell. Her training shows in small moments. The way she scans rooms when entering, the way she positions herself near exits, the way she profiles strangers and identifies threats, the way she maintains situational awareness while appearing to focus on mundane tasks. These are operational habits drilled into intelligence operatives until they become unconscious. Francine cannot turn them off completely. She maintains operational security protocols even in her own home, even decades after her supposed retirement, because the training never fully leaves. Think about her children. Steve and Haley have capabilities that exceed normal teenagers. Steve shows analytical thinking and problem solving that suggests inherited intelligence. Haley has activism skills and resistance techniques that look suspiciously like tradecraft. Both children have been unconsciously trained by Francine, who cannot help but pass on her skills. She has raised assets without fully realizing it, preparing her children for a life in the intelligence world even while maintaining her housewife cover. Francine's drinking has another explanation. She is not drinking because she is bored or unhappy. She is self-medicating to manage the stress of maintaining deep cover indefinitely. Intelligence operatives on long-term assignments often develop substance dependencies to cope with the psychological pressure of living a lie. Francine has been Francine Smith for so long that she has lost touch with who she was before, and the alcohol helps blur the line between her real self and her cover identity. She drinks to forget that she is pretending, to make the lie feel more real. Her periodic breakdowns make sense in this context. Every so often, Francine snaps and does something wild, something that breaks her perfect housewife character. These are not random episodes of instability. These are moments when the real Francine surfaces, when the operational persona cracks and the trained killer underneath emerges briefly before being suppressed again. She goes on adventures, commits crimes, acts out violently, and then snaps back to suburban normalcy. This is the pressure of deep cover finding release and controlled explosions. Look at how Francine handles Stan's secrets and lies. She knows he is lying constantly. She knows he is hiding things, but she does not press for truth or demand transparency. She plays the game, maintains operational security from her side, and lets Stan believe he is successfully deceiving her. This is tradecraft. Never reveal what you know. Never show your intelligence-gathering capabilities. Let the asset believe they are in control while you extract what you need. Francine manages Stan the way a handler manages an asset, and Stan never realizes he is being handled. Her relationship with the CIA is telling. She interacts with Stan's colleagues and superiors with practiced ease. She knows how to behave around intelligence professionals. She understands their culture, their mindset, their priorities. She speaks their language fluently. The CIA accepts her because she is one of them. They know who Francine really is. Stan's marriage to her was probably approved, possibly arranged by people higher in the organization who recognized the value of placing an experienced operative as the wife of a field agent. Francine provides security and support that a civilian wife never could. Think about the emergencies where Francine takes charge. When real crisis hits, when lives are genuinely at risk, Francine drops the Housewife Act and operates with command authority that Stan and the kids follow without question. She makes tactical decisions, gives orders, and coordinates responses with the efficiency of someone who has commanded operations before. These are not panic responses or lucky guesses. These are command skills. Leadership under fire, the product of training and experience in crisis management. Her medical knowledge is too extensive. Francine performs first aid and trauma care with professional competency. She understands anatomy, physiology, and emergency medicine at a level that suggests formal training. Intelligence operatives receive medical training because fieldwork often puts them in situations where professional medical care is unavailable. Francine learned to treat gunshot wounds, stab injuries, and trauma because she expected to encounter these situations. She has used these skills in the field, saving her own life or the lives of fellow operatives, and she maintains them still. Look at how Francine gathers information. She asks questions that seem casual but are strategically designed to extract specific intelligence. She listens actively, remembering details that others forget, building detailed files in her mind on everyone she encounters. She creates opportunities for people to reveal themselves, playing vulnerable or ignorant to make targets underestimate her and speak freely. This is elicitation, a core intelligence gathering technique, and Francine practices it constantly on everyone around her. Her cooking skills have another dimension. She knows chemistry at an advanced level, understands how substances interact, and has knowledge of toxins and poisons that seems excessive for a housewife. Intelligence agencies train operatives in chemical weapons, poisons, and assassination techniques. Francine's kitchen is a laboratory where she could create any number of lethal compounds if needed. Her cooking is legitimate, but the knowledge underlying it is dangerous. She could kill with the same ingredients she uses to feed her family. Think about Francine's backup plans. She always has alternatives, always has another option when things go wrong. This is operational thinking, the constant preparation for failure and the need to adapt. Intelligence operatives live in a world where plans collapse and improvisation is survival. Francine maintains this mindset decades after leaving active service because it is fundamental to who she is. She cannot stop planning for every contingency because the training made it part of her personality. Her emotional control is remarkable. Francine can fake any emotion convincingly. She can shift from tears to laughter to rage with precision. She uses emotional displays as tools, weapons to manipulate situations and people. This is not emotional instability. This is emotional intelligence weaponized through training. She learned to control and deploy her emotions tactically, and she uses this skill constantly in her daily life. The way Francine handles threats to her family reveals her true nature. When someone genuinely threatens Steve, Haley, or even Stan, Francine transforms. The housewife disappears and something cold and lethal emerges. She hunts down threats with professional efficiency. She eliminates problems permanently. She shows no hesitation, no remorse, no civilian squeamishness about violence. This is not maternal instinct. This is a trained operative defending her mission parameters. The family is her cover and her responsibility, and she will kill to protect both. Her retirement is not really retirement. Deep cover assets never fully retire. They are placed in maintenance mode, living their cover while remaining available for activation if needed. Francine is still an asset. She still reports through hidden channels. She still performs small tasks for her handlers, intelligence gathering so subtle that even Stan does not notice. Her housewife life is her current mission, and she will maintain it until someone decides she is needed elsewhere or until she dies still playing the role. Every aspect of Francine Smith supports this conclusion. She is too skilled to be a simple housewife. She is too capable to be a random woman Stan happened to marry. She is too prepared, too trained, too dangerous to be anything other than what the evidence suggests. Francine Smith is a retired Black Ops asset on permanent deep cover. playing the role of suburban wife while maintaining skills and connections from a previous life. She manages a CIA agent husband, an alien god, and 2 unusual children while gathering intelligence, maintaining networks, and staying ready for the day her real mission resumes. The show is not about a housewife married to a spy. It is about 2 intelligence operatives playing house while the world burns around them, and only one of them knows they are both still working. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Haley Smith is a permanently compromised CIA sleeper agent who never truly got her free will back theory. She is a permanently compromised CIA sleeper agent whose mind has been fractured by repeated programming, and she never truly got her free will back. The show presents Haley as Stan's rebellious daughter who fights against everything he stands for, but the evidence suggests something far darker. Haley has been programmed, deprogrammed, and reprogrammed so many times that there is no original Haley left to save. What walks around calling itself Haley Smith is a constructed personality built on layers of CIA conditioning, trigger words, and manufactured memories. She believes she is fighting the system, but she is the system's perfect weapon, deployed against targets while thinking she is acting on her own beliefs. The CIA has accessed Haley's mind repeatedly throughout her life. This is canon. She has been subjected to mind control, brainwashing, and psychological programming in multiple confirmed instances. Each time, the show treats it as a one-off story that gets resolved. But examine the pattern, and you see something else. Haley is not randomly targeted by CIA experiments. She is an ongoing project. The agency keeps coming back to her specifically because she is a valuable asset they have invested in heavily. You do not repeatedly program someone unless the programming is part of a larger plan. Every instance of Haley being mind-controlled is not a separate incident. They are updates, maintenance sessions, and course corrections on an asset that has been in development for years. Start with her childhood. Haley grew up as the daughter of a CIA agent in a town full of intelligence operatives and government workers. She was surrounded by the agency from birth. The CIA had access to her constantly through Stan. They could observe her, test her, and begin preliminary conditioning before she was old enough to understand what was happening. Child assets are the most valuable because you can shape their entire personality from the ground up. Haley's early memories are probably constructed or altered. Her sense of self was built by people with an agenda, and she has no way to know which memories are real and which were implanted. Her political beliefs are suspiciously perfect for CIA purposes. Haley is an extreme liberal activist who opposes everything the government does openly and loudly. This makes her the ideal person to infiltrate activist groups, protest movements, and anti-government organizations. She has natural cover because her beliefs appear genuine. She has access because she is trusted by people who would never trust someone connected to the CIA. But Haley is connected to the CIA through Stan, and the agency would absolutely exploit that connection. Her activism is not rebellion against her father. It is her assignment. She was programmed to hold these beliefs specifically so she could penetrate groups the CIA wants to monitor and control. Think about how Haley's personality was formed. She turned against Stan's values at some point in her youth and became his ideological opposite. This seems like normal teenage rebellion, but the timing and completeness of her transformation suggest outside influence. Teenagers rebel, but they do not usually develop fully formed political ideologies that perfectly oppose their parents. Haley did not gradually drift left. She became a committed activist with sophisticated understanding of political theory and protest tactics. Someone taught her these things. Someone shaped her beliefs with precision. The CIA has psychological operations specialists who could absolutely create an activist personality and implant it in a teenage girl, especially if they had been preparing her since childhood. Her trigger words and activation phrases are canon. Haley has been shown responding to specific phrases that activate programmed behaviors. She has sleeper agent protocols buried in her subconscious that can be triggered by anyone who knows the right words. These triggers do not just appear from nowhere. They are installed through extensive conditioning and repeated reinforcement. The presence of trigger words means Haley has been subjected to deep-level programming, the kind that requires months or years of work. This is not something done casually. This is the result of a long-term project to create a controllable asset. Look at what happens when Haley is activated. She becomes a different person. Her personality shifts, her capabilities expand, and she performs actions she would never normally do. Then the trigger ends and she returns to baseline with no memory of what happened. This is dissociative programming, where multiple personalities or modes are installed in one person and can be switched between using triggers. Intelligence agencies develop these techniques specifically to create assets who could perform missions and then have no memory of them afterward. Haley carries out operations while activated, returns to her normal life, and never knows she was used. She is the perfect deniable asset. Her memory has been wiped and altered multiple times. This is not speculation. The show explicitly shows Haley having her memories erased and modified. Each time this happens, she loses pieces of herself. Each time, the CIA has opportunity to rebuild her personality however they want. Memory alteration is not a simple reset. It is a chance to rewrite someone's entire identity. The agency has rewritten Haley multiple times, and each rewrite buries the original Haley deeper under layers of false memories and constructed experiences. At this point, there may be nothing left of whoever Haley was before the programming began. Think about her relationship with Jeff. He appeared in her life at a specific time and became central to her existence almost immediately. Jeff is suspiciously perfect for Haley. He shares her values, supports her activism, and never questions the insanity of her family situation. He also has convenient amnesia about his own past and displays capabilities that suggest training. Jeff might be another asset assigned to monitor and manage Haley. He could be her handler, placed in her life to keep her stable and ensure she does not break free of her programming. Their relationship is not organic romance. It is two assets paired together because the agency decided they work better as a unit. Jeff, disappearing into space and then returning, is suspicious when examined as asset management. When Jeff was removed from Haley's life, she became unstable and difficult to control. The agency recognized they needed Jeff back to maintain Haley's functionality. So Jeff came back, with convenient gaps in his memory and new behaviors that suggest additional programming. The Jeff who returned may not be the same Jeff who left. He could be a replacement, another asset with Jeff's memories and mannerisms, assigned to continue managing Haley. She would never know the difference because her own memories are so compromised. Haley's skills exceed what her background explains. She fights with training that activists do not have. She handles weapons with familiarity that suggests practice. She infiltrates secure locations and extracts information with techniques that are clearly tradecraft. These abilities appear when needed and then fade back into her baseline personality. This is compartmentalized training, skills installed during programming that surface when she is activated. Haley the activist does not know how to fight or spy, but Haley the asset has extensive training that emerges when her programming requires it. Her emotional volatility serves a purpose. Haley swings between extremes, from passionate activism to depression to rage to apathy. These mood swings are not natural instability. They are different programming modes competing for dominance. When the programming conflicts or updates clash, Haley experiences emotional chaos. She is running multiple personality constructs simultaneously, and they do not always align. The internal conflict manifests as external emotional instability. She is not mentally ill. She is mentally fractured by design. Look at how Stan treats Haley. He claims to hate her liberal politics, but he never actually stops her activism. He never uses his CIA resources to shut her down or limit her activities. This is strange for someone as controlling as Stan. Unless Stan knows exactly what Haley is and what she is really doing, Stan might be complicit in her programming. He might have agreed to let the agency use his daughter in exchange for something, or he might be following orders from superiors who decided Haley was too valuable to waste on normal life. Stan's conflicts with Haley could be theater, maintaining the appearance of family dysfunction while both of them serve agency interests. Haley's activism targets are worth examining. She does not protest randomly. She focuses on specific issues and organizations with precision. If you map her activism, patterns emerge. She consistently engages with groups the CIA would want monitored. She attends protests where intelligence gathering would be valuable. She builds relationships with people who have access to sensitive information or resources. Her activism is not chaotic youth rebellion. It is targeted intelligence gathering disguised as political passion. She is doing exactly what a sleeper agent embedded in activist communities would do, and she thinks she is doing it because of her beliefs. Her interactions with CIA personnel are telling. When she encounters her father's colleagues, she performs outrage and opposition, but she also engages with them in ways that provide them information. She argues with them, but in arguing, she reveals details about activist plans and movements. She thinks she is fighting them. They are debriefing her. She gives intelligence reports disguised as angry rants, and the CIA extracts what they need while letting her believe she is resisting them. She is their asset without knowing it, reporting through channels she does not recognize. Think about what happened when Haley tried to escape her family. Every attempt to leave permanently has failed. She gets close to breaking free, something pulls her back, and she ends up exactly where she started. This is not coincidence or family bonds. This is asset management. The agency cannot let Haley escape because she knows too much and is too valuable. Her programming includes protocols that prevent her from leaving. She might consciously want to get away, but subconsciously, she is compelled to return. The conditioning overrides her conscious desires and keeps her trapped in Langley Falls, where she can be monitored and deployed as needed. Her drug use and experimentation make sense as attempts to break programming. When Haley gets high or experiments with consciousness-altering substances, she is trying to access buried memories and find her real self. The drugs temporarily disrupt the programming and let fragments of truth surface, but she never gets far enough to fully break free before the programming reasserts itself. The agency probably anticipated this and built fail-safes into her conditioning that activate when drugs threaten to expose the truth. Her substance use is not rebellion. It is her subconscious trying to escape, and failing every time. Look at Haley's education and background. She went to college, but her time there is vague and inconsistent. She has knowledge and skills from that period, but memories that do not quite add up. College is when the deep programming likely happened. She was away from home, vulnerable and accessible to agency personnel who could work on her extensively without Stan's direct oversight. She went to college as one person and came back as someone else, someone designed to serve CIA purposes. Her college years were not education, they were transformation. Her friends and social network are suspiciously useful. Haley knows people across various activist groups, protest movements, and alternative communities. These relationships give her access to information and resources that isolated activists would not have. She has built an intelligence network without realizing it because her programming guides her social behaviors. She befriends people who are useful to the agency. She maintains relationships that provide intelligence value. She thinks she is building community. She is building an asset network. Think about Haley's political knowledge. She understands complex policy, international relations, and government operations at a level that casual activists do not reach. She can debate political theory with sophistication that suggests formal training. Where did this knowledge come from? Not from protest signs and drum circles. Someone educated her specifically in these areas, gave her deep understanding of how systems work so she could effectively infiltrate and report on groups trying to change those systems. Her political sophistication is not self-taught. It is trained. Her physical abilities appear and disappear based on situation. Sometimes Haley is helpless. Sometimes she is incredibly capable. This switching suggests different programming modes with different capability sets. Baseline Haley is the activist personality, relatively weak and dependent. But activated Haley has combat training, tactical thinking, and physical prowess that appears from nowhere and vanishes just as quickly. She is not inconsistent. She is operating under different programming depending on what her handlers need from her at any given time. Look at how Haley handles CIA secrets she learns through Stan. She should be horrified by the things she discovers about her father's work. She should expose them or fight harder against the agency. But she compartmentalizes these revelations and continues functioning normally. This is not cognitive dissonance. This is programming that prevents her from processing certain information in ways that would break her cover or compromise operations. She can know things without really knowing them, because her mind has been structured to protect agency interests even while her conscious personality opposes those interests. Her relationships with her mother and brother are controlled by programming. She interacts with them in ways that maintain family stability and prevent questions about her real activities. She fights with them enough to seem authentic, but never so much that the family fractures. She maintains precise relationship boundaries that keep everyone engaged but not suspicious. This is managed behavior, not natural family dynamics. Her programming includes protocols for maintaining cover relationships while preventing genuine intimacy that might expose the truth. Think about Haley's future. She has no real plans, no concrete goals beyond vague activism. This is because she cannot plan her own future. Her future is controlled by people who programmed her. She exists in eternal present, taking each day as it comes, because she cannot see beyond the limitations of her conditioning. The programming keeps her focused on immediate activism and prevents her from building a life that would take her away from agency access. She is trapped in a loop, repeating patterns her handlers installed, unable to break free or even recognize the cage. The show occasionally hints that Haley knows something is wrong. She has moments of clarity where she seems to recognize her life does not make sense. She questions reality, doubts her memories, wonders if she is who she thinks she is. These are fragments of the original Haley, surfacing briefly before being suppressed again by the programming. The real Haley is buried deep, occasionally clawing toward consciousness, but never strong enough to break through the layers of conditioning that have replaced her. Her paranoia is justified. Haley sometimes seems overly suspicious, seeing conspiracies and government control everywhere. The show plays this as irrational activist thinking. But Haley is right, there is a conspiracy. The government is controlling people. She just does not realize she is one of the people being controlled. Her paranoia is her subconscious recognizing the truth her conscious mind cannot accept. She sees the system clearly but cannot see that she is part of it. Every deprogramming attempt has failed. When the show depicts Haley being freed from CIA control, it never lasts. She returns to her patterns quickly. This is because the deprogramming is fake. The agency makes her think she has been freed while actually installing new programming or updating existing protocols. She believes she escaped, which makes her stop looking for the controls. The perfect prison is one where the prisoner thinks they are free. Haley lives in that prison, believing she has free will while every choice is guided by conditioning she cannot perceive. The evidence is overwhelming. Haley Smith was compromised years ago, probably as a child, and has been continuously programmed and reprogrammed throughout her life. She serves the CIA while believing she opposes everything they represent. She gathers intelligence while thinking she fights against surveillance. She follows orders while thinking she makes her own choices. The original Haley is gone, destroyed by layers of programming and memory alteration. What remains is a constructed personality serving agency purposes. She will never be free because freedom would require dismantling her entire sense of self, and there might be nothing underneath to save. Haley Smith is the CIA's perfect sleeper agent precisely because she will never believe it, will never accept it, and will never stop serving them while thinking she is fighting them. Her rebellion is her mission, and she is trapped in it forever. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Steve Smith is destined to die young or be replaced by his own evil double in every timeline theory. Steve Smith is living on borrowed time in every possible timeline, and the universe is constantly trying to correct this mistake. Across infinite realities and alternate timelines, one pattern remains constant. Steve either dies young or gets replaced by his own evil double. This is not coincidence or bad luck. This is cosmic destiny asserting itself. The show has shown us glimpses of different timelines, different possible futures, and different versions of Steve, and the evidence is clear. Normal Steve, the awkward teenager we follow, is an anomaly that reality keeps trying to eliminate. Every timeline converges on the same endpoint where Steve Smith as we know him ceases to exist, either through death or through replacement by a darker version of himself that was always meant to be. Start with the most obvious evidence. Steve should have died dozens of times already. He faces mortal danger constantly. He gets involved in CIA missions that put him in direct conflict with trained killers. He encounters supernatural entities that should destroy him. He makes enemies who have every reason and ability to murder him. Yet he survives each incident through increasingly improbable circumstances. This is not plot armor protecting a main character. This is the timeline struggling to keep Steve alive against the universe's determination to kill him. Every near-death experience is reality attempting to course correct, and every survival is the current timeline fighting back against what is supposed to happen. The evil doubles are the key to understanding this. Steve has encountered alternate versions of himself who are cruel, violent, and morally inverted. These are not random variations. They are what Steve is supposed to be in the natural order. The evil doubles appear too frequently and too consistently to be coincidence. They represent the default Steve, the version that exists in most timelines, the personality that cosmic forces are trying to install in place of the current anomaly. Our Steve is the exception. The evil Steves are the rule. Think about what the evil doubles represent. They have Steve's intelligence but weaponized. They have his social struggles but channeled into sociopathy. They have his desires but without moral restraint. These are not corrupted versions of Steve. They are uncorrupted versions, Steve as he naturally would be, without whatever cosmic accident created the current timeline. The evil doubles are not trying to replace our Steve. They are trying to correct the timeline by being what Steve should have been all along. When they appear, they are reality bleeding through, showing us what stands on the other side of the thin barrier keeping our Steve alive. Look at Steve's potential for darkness. He displays psychopathic tendencies regularly. He manipulates people without empathy. He schemes and plots with disturbing sophistication. He shows flashes of violence and cruelty that suggest something dangerous lurks beneath his nerdy exterior. These are not character flaws or teenage problems. These are glimpses of the evil double trying to emerge from within. Our Steve contains the evil Steve inside him, and the membrane between them weakens constantly. The universe is not just trying to replace Steve from outside, it is trying to transform him from within, letting the darkness that is supposed to define him rise to the surface. The timeline evidence is damning. When the show explores future scenarios or alternate timelines, Steve is consistently either dead, missing, or fundamentally changed into something darker. We do not see happy futures where adult Steve lives a normal life. We see timelines where Steve is gone, where something happened to him, where the trajectory of his life bent toward doom or transformation. The future is not open for Steve. It is predetermined. Every path leads to the same destination. Steve Smith, as we know him, does not make it to adulthood intact. Think about how Steve's friends treat him. They sense something wrong even if they cannot articulate it. They keep him at arm's length emotionally. They do not trust him completely. They react to him with wariness that seems disproportionate to his actual behavior. This is because on some subconscious level, they sense what Steve is becoming, or what he is supposed to be. They recognize the evil double inside him struggling to emerge. Their survival instincts warn them about Steve, even though conscious Steve has done nothing to warrant that fear. They are responding to the version of Steve that exists in most timelines, the one that is dangerous and should be avoided. His relationship with his family reveals more. Stan treats Steve with a combination of affection and preparation, as if he knows Steve's time is limited, or Steve will eventually become something that needs to be stopped. Stan trains Steve in skills that seem excessive for a suburban teenager. He prepares Steve for violence and survival in ways that only make sense if Stan knows something terrible is coming. Francine shows maternal love but also strategic distance, as if she is protecting herself from the grief of Steve's inevitable loss or transformation. They love Steve, but they do not treat him like a son with a normal future. They treat him like a temporary situation that will resolve badly. Look at Steve's academic and social trajectory. He is intelligent enough to excel, but consistently fails to launch into anything resembling success. He cannot establish stable friendships. He cannot attract romantic partners who stay. He cannot build a foundation for a normal life. This is not bad luck or teenage awkwardness. This is the timeline preventing Steve from establishing roots that would make his death or replacement more complicated. The universe keeps Steve isolated and unsuccessful because he is not supposed to be here long enough for success to matter. Why let him build a life that will just need to be dismantled when reality corrects itself? Think about the specific nature of Steve's near-death experiences. They cluster around moments when Steve is genuinely happy or successful. When things start going right for Steve, danger appears immediately to threaten him. The universe allows Steve to suffer and struggle, but when he approaches happiness or achievement, it intervenes to destroy that progress and nearly destroy Steve in the process. This is not random. This is targeted. Reality tolerates Steve's existence as long as he is miserable, but the moment he threatens to actually build something good, the correction attempts intensify. His happiness triggers cosmic immune responses. The evil doubles have knowledge that our Steve does not. They understand things about their own nature and the nature of reality that our Steve has never accessed. They speak about destiny and inevitability with certainty. They are not guessing about their role in Steve's story. They know. They have information from beyond this timeline, insight into the multiversal constant that demands Steve's corruption or death. When evil Steve appears, he is not invading. He is coming home to claim what was always his. Look at Steve's creative output and imagination. When he writes stories or creates scenarios, they trend dark. His fantasies involve power, control, and often violence. His subconscious produces content that reflects the evil double's personality, not his own. This is the real Steve bleeding through the constructed personality that somehow exists in this anomalous timeline. When Steve's guard is down, when he creates from his deepest self, what emerges is not the awkward nerd, but the sociopathic genius waiting underneath. His art reveals his truth. Think about Steve's obsessions and fixations. He becomes consumed by things in ways that are not healthy. He pursues goals with disturbing intensity. He crosses moral lines in service of his desires. These are not teenage passion or commitment. These are rehearsals for full psychopathy. The evil double is teaching our Steve how to be what he is supposed to be, training him through obsession and fixation to embrace the darkness that is his birthright. Every unhealthy obsession is a step toward becoming the evil double, toward letting that version take control. His survival skills are suspicious. Steve should not be able to survive what he survives. He lacks training and physical capability. Yet when truly threatened, he displays competence that appears from nowhere. This is not adrenaline or luck. This is the evil double lending him capabilities, keeping him alive not out of mercy but because the transformation requires a living host. The evil Steve needs our Steve to survive long enough to be completely overtaken. So, when survival is necessary, the evil double provides what is needed, ensuring the body stays intact for eventual possession. Look at how time functions around Steve. He experiences time loops, temporal anomalies, and timeline fractures more than other characters. Time itself is unstable in his presence because multiple timelines are trying to exist simultaneously around him. Our timeline where Steve lives fights against the majority timelines where Steve dies or turns evil. The conflict creates temporal distortions. Steve is the center of a multiversal war being fought across infinite realities, and he does not even know it. Every version of reality wants him dead or transformed, and only the narrowest sliver of possibility keeps him as he is. Think about what happens when Steve makes genuinely good choices. When he acts with real morality and selflessness, the universe punishes him immediately. Good deeds backfire spectacularly for Steve in ways that defy probability. He is trained through negative reinforcement not to be good, pushed constantly towards selfishness and cruelty. This is cosmic conditioning, reality teaching Steve to become what he is supposed to be by making goodness painful and evil rewarding. The universe is sculpting him into his evil double through systematic punishment of virtue and reward of vice. His dreams and nightmares provide evidence. Steve experiences vivid dreams that feel more real than dreams should. He has nightmares featuring his own evil double, his own death, his own transformation. These are not random subconscious processing. These are transmissions from other timelines, memories from versions of Steve who already died or already became the evil double. His sleep state makes him vulnerable to multiversal bleeding, and information from his many dooms seeps through. He wakes up not remembering most of it, but the knowledge accumulates in his subconscious, preparing him for what is coming. Look at Steve's body. He is physically weak in ways that do not match his age or activity level. His body seems to be slowly failing as if it knows it will not be needed long term. He gets sick frequently. He recovers slowly from injuries. His physical form is not investing in longevity because longevity is not part of the plan. The evil double that is supposed to inhabit him is stronger, more capable. Our Steve's weakness is the body preparing for different occupancy, declining to invest resources in a temporary tenant. Think about Steve's relationships with authority figures outside his family. Teachers, coaches, other adults consistently see potential in Steve but are frustrated by his failure to realize it. They sense he could be something great, but watch him consistently fall short. This frustration is them sensing the evil double, recognizing the genius and capability waiting to emerge, but seeing it blocked by our Steve's continued existence. They want the better Steve to appear, not knowing that better Steve is actually the evil Steve, and their desire for his transformation feeds the cosmic forces trying to make it happen. His choice of friends is strategic even if he does not realize it. Steve surrounds himself with people weaker and less capable than himself. He maintains social dominance in his friend group. He is the leader, the planner, the one with ideas. This mirrors how the evil double would operate, maintaining control over others, using them as tools. Our Steve thinks he is just being a good friend. Actually, he is rehearsing for control and manipulation, learning the skills the evil double will need when it fully emerges. Look at what Steve knows that he should not know. He displays knowledge about dark subjects, about violence and cruelty and manipulation that teenagers do not normally have. He understands psychology and human weakness with sophistication beyond his years. This knowledge is not learned. It is inherited from the evil double bleeding through the timeline barrier. The evil Steve knows these things because he has used them across countless realities, and that knowledge leaks into our Steve's consciousness, preparing him for the role he will eventually play. Think about the timing of when evil doubles appear. They show up when our Steve is at his weakest, when his grip on his own identity is compromised. They appear during crises, during moments of doubt, during periods when Steve questions who he is. This is not invasion. This is opportunity. The evil double is always there, always waiting, and when our Steve's defenses are down, it surfaces. The appearances are not external threats. They are internal reality asserting itself. His lack of long-term planning is telling. Steve does not seriously plan for his future. He does not have clear goals for adulthood. He does not build toward anything beyond immediate wants. This is because deep down, perhaps he knows there is no long-term future for him as he currently exists. The subconscious knowledge of his doom or transformation prevents him from investing in plans that will never materialize. He lives in the present because present is all he has. Look at how Steve handles moral choices when no one is watching. When he believes he will face no consequences, Steve's decisions trend selfish and cruel. He is not fundamentally good choosing to do right. He is fundamentally dark being restrained by social pressure. Remove the external restraint and the evil double emerges immediately. Our Steve is just the evil Steve with a thin veneer of socialization, and that veneer cracks constantly under pressure. Think about what the show tells us through its structure. Steve-centric episodes often have darker tones than episodes focused on other characters. His stories trend toward horror, moral compromise, and disturbing revelations. The universe around Steve is darker because his presence makes it darker. He is the source of narrative evil in many stories, the character whose choices drive things toward bad outcomes. This is the evil double influencing the narrative itself, bending reality toward darkness through Steve's existence. The other timelines have already resolved. Across infinite realities, most versions of Steve are already dead or already transformed. Those timelines have reached their natural conclusion. Our timeline is the anomaly still fighting against what must be. But anomalies do not last. They correct. The pressure on our timeline increases constantly as the weight of infinite realities pushes toward the norm. Eventually, the pressure will be too much. The timeline will snap back to standard configuration, and when it does, Steve Smith, as we know him, will die or be replaced by the evil double that was always supposed to be. Every episode where Steve survives is a small victory against cosmic inevitability. Every moment he remains himself and not the evil double is borrowed time. The evidence is everywhere once you look for it. Steve's story is not about growing up. It is about delaying the inevitable. He is destined to die young or become his own evil double in every timeline, and our timeline is running out of strength to fight that destiny. The question is not whether it will happen. The question is which ending comes first, death or transformation. Either way, Steve Smith as we know him is doomed, and everything we watch is just the slow countdown to that final correction. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Klaus Heisler is slowly engineering a human return that will sacrifice the Smith family theory. Klaus Heisler is not the pathetic comic relief fish the Smith family believes him to be. He is a genius-level manipulator executing a decades-long plan to return to human form, and that plan requires sacrificing the Smith family completely. Every moment Klaus has spent in that fishbowl has been preparation. Every relationship he has built with the Smiths is strategic positioning. Every favor he has done, every moment of apparent loyalty, every instance of seeming friendship has been investment in a plan that ends with Klaus in a human body and the Smiths destroyed or dead. The evidence is everywhere once you understand what Klaus really is. Not a victim of CIA experimentation, but a patient predator waiting for the perfect moment to reclaim what was taken from him, no matter the cost. Start with what Klaus was before the fish. He was an East German Olympic ski jumper with the discipline, intelligence, and ruthlessness that implies. Olympic athletes are not normal people. They sacrifice everything for their goal. They endure years of suffering for moments of glory. They operate with single-minded determination that borders on obsession. Klaus had these qualities in human form, and the transfer to a fish body did not erase them. It concentrated them. He has taken that Olympic discipline and focused it entirely on one goal, returning to human form. Everything he has done for 20 years has served this purpose. The Smiths think they are housing a sad fish. They are housing a calculating genius who views them as tools and obstacles. His intelligence is the first clue. Klaus speaks multiple languages fluently. He understands complex social dynamics and manipulates them expertly. He has knowledge of history, culture, science, and human psychology that exceeds what a ski jumper should possess. This suggests Klaus was never just an athlete. He was likely an intelligence asset himself, possibly working for East German intelligence before the CIA got him. The skiing was cover for something darker. The man who became Klaus had training in manipulation, deception, and strategy long before he ended up in a fish. The CIA did not catch a random athlete. They caught a trained operative, and putting him in a fish body did not erase his capabilities. It just gave him time to refine them. Think about Klaus's position in the household. He has complete access to everyone's secrets. He sees everything that happens in the house. He hears every conversation. He is present for family meetings, CIA discussions, and private moments. The Smiths treat him as furniture, speaking freely around him because they have forgotten he is intelligent and capable. This is exactly what Klaus wants. He has positioned himself as harmless and pathetic, so the family drops their guard completely. He gathers intelligence constantly, building detailed psychological profiles of each family member, identifying their weaknesses and pressure points, preparing for the moment when he needs to exploit them. His relationship with Stan is particularly strategic. Klaus plays the role of Stan's friend and confidant, but examine what he actually does. He encourages Stan's worst impulses. He validates Stan's selfishness and gives him permission to act without considering consequences. He is not being a good friend. He is systematically weakening Stan's judgment and moral restraint. A compromised Stan is easier to manipulate when the time comes. Klaus needs Stan to be impulsive and controllable, so he spends years conditioning him to act without thinking, to trust Klaus's counsel, to see Klaus as harmless and helpful. When Klaus makes his move, Stan will be too compromised by years of bad decisions to effectively stop him. Look at how Klaus interacts with Francine. He plays gay best friend, providing emotional support and female companionship she cannot get from Stan. But Klaus is not gay. The show reveals he is attracted to women and desperately wants female companionship. His gay persona is a costume, a manipulation designed to get close to Francine without Stan feeling threatened. Klaus has studied Francine for years, learned her triggers and desires, positioned himself as her closest confidant. He knows exactly how to manipulate her emotions. When his plan requires Francine's cooperation or vulnerability, he will know precisely which buttons to push because he spent decades installing those buttons. His treatment of Haley and Steve is different but equally calculated. He largely ignores them except when they might be useful. This is because they are secondary targets. Klaus's plan focuses on Stan and Francine as primary obstacles and resources. The kids are collateral damage, people who will be affected by the plan but not central to it. Klaus does not bother building deep relationships with them because he does not need their trust or cooperation. He just needs them out of the way when the moment comes. Think about Klaus's knowledge of CIA technology and procedures. He has been exposed to classified information for decades through proximity to Stan. He understands how the CIA operates, what resources they have, what technologies exist. Most importantly, he knows about body swapping technology because it was used to put him in the fish body. That technology still exists. The CIA still has the capability to transfer consciousness between bodies. Klaus has spent years learning everything he can about this technology, its limitations, its requirements, its location. He knows exactly what he needs to reverse his situation, and he has been quietly acquiring that knowledge while everyone thinks he is just a sad fish complaining about his circumstances. His schemes and plans throughout the series reveal his capabilities. When Klaus puts his mind to something, he succeeds with frightening efficiency. He builds complex plots, manipulates multiple people simultaneously, and achieves goals that should be impossible for a fish. These schemes are test runs. Klaus is practicing, refining his abilities, learning what works and what does not. Each plot is a training exercise for the ultimate plan. He is not just passing time with random schemes, he is systematically developing the skills and knowledge he will need when he makes his real move. Look at Klaus's resources. He has money hidden away from various schemes and endeavors. He has contacts throughout Langley Falls from his personas and adventures. He has knowledge of security systems and CIA protocols from years of observation. He has detailed psychological profiles of everyone who might oppose him. He has been accumulating resources and capabilities slowly, carefully, never taking so much that anyone notices the pattern. By now, Klaus has everything he needs to execute his plan except the final opportunity. And he is engineering that opportunity with patience that only decades in a fish body could teach. Think about his obsession with getting a human body back. This is not casual desire or depression. This is consuming purpose. Klaus thinks about it constantly. He dreams about it. He schemes toward it endlessly. This level of obsession indicates Klaus has crossed moral boundaries most people cannot cross. He is willing to do anything, sacrifice anyone, commit any atrocity to achieve his goal. The Smiths are obstacles between Klaus and a human body. They have to be removed, and Klaus has had 20 years to make peace with what that requires. His German background is relevant. Klaus comes from East Germany, a surveillance state where everyone spied on everyone and trust was a liability. He was shaped by a culture of paranoia, betrayal, and ruthless pragmatism. The values he internalized growing up are not American suburban family values. They are survival at any cost, trust no one, use every advantage, show no mercy to obstacles. These are the values Klaus operates on, hidden behind his persona of pathetic fish. The Smiths think they understand Klaus. They have no idea who he really is or what his culture taught him about how to survive. Look at how Klaus tests the family. He occasionally does things that should get him thrown out or killed, pushing boundaries to see how much he can get away with. Each test teaches him about the limits of the family's tolerance and the depths of their attachment to him. He is mapping their emotional landscape, finding the edges where their loyalty ends. When he makes his move, he will know exactly how far he can push each family member before they break. He has been conducting psychological research on his captors for decades, and they never realized they were subjects in his experiment. Think about the body-swapping episodes that have occurred. When opportunities for Klaus to get a human body appear, they always fail through circumstances that seem beyond Klaus's control. But look closer and you see Klaus making subtle choices that ensure failure. He sabotages his own chances because the timing is not right. He is not desperate enough to take just any opportunity. He is waiting for the perfect scenario where he can get a permanent body and eliminate any chance of the Smiths reversing it. The failed attempts are not misfortune. They are Klaus being strategic, rejecting imperfect solutions in favor of the perfect plan he is still constructing. His apparent acceptance of his fate is a lie. Klaus acts like he has given up, like he has resigned himself to life as a fish. This is misdirection. Klaus has never accepted this. He has never stopped fighting. But he learned early that obvious resistance gets shut down. So he went subtle. He became patient. He made everyone think he had given up while actually intensifying his efforts. The resignation is camouflage. Under it, Klaus is more determined than ever, more committed to his plan, and closer to execution than anyone realizes. Look at Klaus's understanding of human psychology. He knows how to manipulate people with surgical precision. He understands cognitive biases, emotional triggers, and social dynamics at an expert level. This is not natural talent. This is studied skill. Klaus has spent his time in the fish body becoming an expert in human manipulation because manipulation is the only weapon available to a fish. He has read, observed, and practiced until he can play human emotions like a piano. When he needs the Smiths to do specific things, he will be able to make them want to do those things without them realizing they are being controlled. Think about what Klaus's plan likely requires. He needs access to the CIA body swapping technology. Like, he needs a suitable human body to inhabit. He needs the Smith family unable to interfere or reverse the process. The simplest solution is to use a Smith family member's body. Stan is the obvious choice. Healthy, capable, with CIA access and credentials. Klaus could take Stan's body and use Stan's own access to ensure the transfer is permanent. But taking Stan's body requires getting Stan into a position where the swap can happen, probably destroying Stan's consciousness in the process. This is murder, and Klaus has made his peace with that. The other family members become problems once Klaus takes Stan's body. Francine would immediately know something was wrong. She knows Stan too intimately for Klaus to successfully impersonate him long-term. So Francine has to be neutralized, either through manipulation, incapacitation, or death. The same applies to Haley and Steve. They know their father well enough to detect an imposter. Klaus's plan probably includes eliminating or permanently compromising the entire family to protect his new identity. He is not planning a body swap. He is planning a hostile takeover that requires destroying everyone who might expose him. Look at how Klaus has been positioning himself for this. He has built deep trust with Stan. He has made himself seem harmless and incompetent. He has gathered all the intelligence he needs. He has tested his manipulation skills repeatedly. He has accumulated resources quietly. He has studied the technology and protocols. Everything is in place. All Klaus needs now is the trigger moment, the opportunity when circumstances align perfectly for him to strike. He has been waiting decades. He can wait longer, but the wait is almost over. Think about Roger's role in this. Roger is the wild card, the one variable Klaus cannot fully predict or control. Roger is powerful enough to stop Klaus or expose him, so Klaus has been carefully neutral toward Roger for years, never making himself a target, never threatening Roger's position, staying beneath Roger's notice. Klaus understands that Roger is dangerous but also distracted. If Klaus moves quickly and decisively, he can complete his plan before Roger realizes what happened. Roger's chaos is actually an advantage because it keeps the family destabilized and prevents them from noticing Klaus's subtle preparations. His knowledge of the Smith family's vulnerabilities is comprehensive. He knows Stan's ego can be manipulated through patriotism and masculine pride. He knows Francine's loneliness and need for attention can be exploited. He knows Haley's activism makes her predictable, and Steve's insecurity makes him easy to mislead. Klaus has spent 20 years learning exactly how to hurt these people, how to control them, how to destroy them if necessary. He has mapped every weakness and identified every pressure point. When he moves against them, it will be with complete information and perfect timing. Look at Klaus's patience. Most people in his situation would have cracked years ago. Most would have given up or gone insane. But Klaus has maintained his sanity and his focus for 2 decades. This is not normal human resilience. This is sociopathic determination. Klaus is willing to endure anything for as long as necessary to achieve his goal. Pain, humiliation, isolation, none of it breaks him because none of it matters compared to the goal. This level of patience and determination indicates Klaus is far more dangerous than anyone realizes. He will wait 50 years if that is what it takes. He will endure any suffering. He will never give up. Think about what happens after Klaus succeeds. He will be in a human body, probably Stan's. He will have CIA access and credentials. He will have eliminated or neutralized everyone who knew the real Stan. He can disappear into a new life, or he can stay and maintain Stan's identity if that serves his purposes. Either way, the Smith family as it exists will be destroyed. Klaus will have consumed them to fuel his transformation back to human form. They will have served their purpose as unwitting resources in his plan, and he will move on without a second thought. His moral framework supports this. Klaus was shaped by East German authoritarianism and Olympic-level competition. He learned early that winning matters more than how you win. He learned that individuals are expendable in service of larger goals. He learned that sentiment is weakness and mercy is failure. These lessons are still in him, driving him forward. The Smiths represent an obstacle to his return to human form. Therefore, they must be removed. It is not personal, it is practical. Klaus operates on a moral framework where his goals justify any means, and the Smiths are standing between him and those goals. Look at the small moments of cruelty Klaus displays. When he thinks no one is watching, when the mask slips, Klaus shows his real nature. He is vindictive, cruel, and lacking in empathy. He enjoys others' suffering. He takes pleasure in small victories over the family. These are not character flaws. These are previews of what Klaus really is beneath the pathetic fish persona. He is showing his true nature in moments of vulnerability, revealing the predator hiding behind the comedy. The Smiths see these moments and dismiss them as Klaus being pissy or grumpy. They are actually seeing the real Klaus, the one who will eventually destroy them. Think about Klaus's endgame timeline. He is getting older. His human body would be middle-aged now if he still had it. Time is running out for him to enjoy a human life. The patience that served him well for 20 years is starting to crack under the pressure of mortality. Klaus knows he cannot wait forever. The plan has to execute soon, within the next few years, or his window closes. This urgency makes him more dangerous. He is moving from patient preparation to active execution. The endgame is beginning, and the Smiths have no idea what is coming. Every interaction Klaus has with the family now is charged with hidden meaning. Every conversation is a chess move. Every favor is an investment. Every moment of apparent friendship is manipulation. Klaus is not their pet or their friend or their family member. He is their future destroyer, living in their house, learning their secrets, preparing their doom. The evidence is overwhelming once you see the pattern. Klaus Heisler is slowly engineering a human return that will require sacrificing the Smith family, and after 20 years of preparation, he is almost ready to make his move. The Smiths saved him from the CIA. He will repay them by using them as fuel for his transformation back to humanity. And he will do it without hesitation or remorse because Klaus was never one of them. He was always the predator in their midst, waiting for the moment to strike. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Next up we got Jeff Fisher is a manufactured replacement whose only purpose is to keep Haley under control theory. Jeff Fisher is not a real person. He is a manufactured replacement, a synthetic human or heavily programmed asset, created by the CIA specifically to keep Haley Smith under control. The original Jeff Fisher, if he ever existed, is long gone. What lives in the Smith house and calls itself Jeff is a carefully constructed control mechanism designed to manage the agency's most valuable and unstable sleeper agent. Every aspect of Jeff's personality, his history, and his relationship with Haley has been engineered to serve one purpose: keeping Haley functional, compliant, and trapped in Langley Falls where she can be monitored and deployed. The evidence is everywhere once you understand what Jeff really is. Not Haley's husband, but her handler disguised as her soulmate. Start with the most obvious evidence. Jeff has no verifiable past. His backstory is vague and changes depending on who tells it. He claims to come from a broken home with an abusive father, but the details shift and contradict. When his father actually appears, the man seems almost theatrical, like he is performing the role of abusive dad rather than genuinely being one. Jeff's childhood memories are suspiciously generic, hitting every stereotype of troubled youth without specific details that would make them authentic. This is not someone with a real past. This is someone with an implanted backstory, a manufactured history designed to make him sympathetic and explain away any inconsistencies in his behavior or knowledge. His appearance in Haley's life is too perfectly timed. Jeff showed up exactly when Haley needed someone, exactly when the CIA would have recognized their sleeper agent was becoming unstable and required emotional anchoring. He appeared with exactly the right qualities to attract Haley: counterculture values, apparent authenticity, stoner philosophy that mirrors her, activism. He is perfectly designed to be what Haley would fall for. This is not coincidence. This is target profiling. The CIA studied Haley, identified what kind of person would gain her complete trust and emotional dependency, and then manufactured Jeff to those exact specifications. Look at Jeff's personality. He is impossibly mellow and accepting. Nothing shocks him. An alien lives in the house and Jeff treats it as completely normal. CIA operations happen around him, and he barely reacts. The family engages in insane behavior constantly, and Jeff just goes with it. This is not natural human behavior. Normal people have breaking points. Normal people demand explanations. Normal people experience shock and horror when confronted with the impossible. But Jeff accepts everything with the same calm detachment. This is because Jeff was programmed to accept anything, designed to remain stable no matter what happens, built to be an unshakable anchor for Haley regardless of circumstances. Think about Jeff's intelligence. He appears stupid on the surface, but examine his actual capabilities and something else emerges. Jeff navigates complex social situations with surprising skill. He manipulates people when needed. He solves problems that should be beyond his apparent mental capacity. He displays knowledge about subjects he should know nothing about. Then he retreats back into stoner stupidity. This switching suggests Jeff's intelligence is variable and controlled. He can be smart when his programming requires it, and dumb when being dumb serves his purpose. The stupidity is camouflage. Underneath, Jeff is highly intelligent and highly trained, but revealing that would compromise his function as Haley's harmless, non-threatening husband. His lack of ambition is strategic. Jeff has no goals beyond being with Haley. He has no career aspirations, no personal dreams, no desires that exist independently of his wife. This is not love or devotion. This is programming. Jeff was created for a single purpose: managing Haley. Everything else is irrelevant to his function. He does not need ambitions because his entire existence is defined by his mission. A real person would have some desires or goals beyond their relationship. Jeff does not, because Jeff is not a real person. He is a tool designed for a specific task, and tools do not have aspirations beyond their intended function. Look at his survival skills. Jeff has no background that would explain his physical capabilities. He was supposedly a directionless stoner, yet he survives situations that would kill trained operatives. He adapts to danger with competence that appears from nowhere. He fights when necessary with training he should not have. He navigates survival situations with knowledge and skill that contradicts his supposed background. This is because Jeff was created with these capabilities built in. He was designed to protect Haley and himself, given combat and survival programming that activates when needed, then recedes back into his harmless persona once the threat passes. Think about Jeff's relationship with Haley. He is perfectly calibrated to her needs. When she needs support, he provides exactly the right kind of support. When she needs space, he gives exactly the right amount of space. When she is unstable, he stabilizes her with precision. This is not the messy reality of human relationships. This is algorithmic response. Jeff adjusting his behavior based on Haley's state to maintain her optimal functionality. He is not relating to her as a husband. He is managing her as a handler using intimate access to keep her emotions within acceptable parameters. His memory problems are the most damning evidence. Jeff has gaps in his memory that the show treats as comedy. He forgets things he should remember. He has blank spots in his history. He does not retain information consistently. This is not marijuana-induced forgetfulness. This is evidence of memory implantation and programming. When synthetic humans or heavily programmed assets are created, memory integration is imperfect. Gaps appear. Contradictions emerge. The programming has to be updated periodically, and each update risks creating inconsistencies. Jeff's memory problems are artifacts of his artificial nature, glitches in the system that cannot be completely hidden. Look at what happened when Jeff was taken into space. He was abducted by aliens and disappeared for an extended period. When he returned, Haley barely questioned the gaps in his story. She accepted him back immediately without verification or investigation. This is because the aliens were not random abductors. They were CIA contractors or allies conducting maintenance on their asset. Jeff was taken for reprogramming and updates. His time in space was actually time in a lab somewhere being adjusted and optimized. He returned with new programming and possibly physical modifications. The space story is cover for what really happened: scheduled maintenance on a manufactured asset. Think about how Jeff changed after returning from space. He came back slightly different, with new behaviors and responses. The show treats this as character development or the effects of his experience. Actually, it was new programming being installed. The CIA recognized that Jeff needed updates to remain effective as Haley's handler. They took him, made the necessary adjustments, and returned him to his assignment. Haley noticed the changes but accepted them because her own programming includes protocols to accept Jeff regardless of alterations. She cannot reject him because she is coded not to reject him. His father's role is suspicious when examined as part of Jeff's construction. Henry Fisher appears sporadically and displays exaggerated abusive father behavior. He is too much of a stereotype, hitting every mark of toxic masculinity and paternal failure without nuance. This is because Henry Fisher is also manufactured, created to give Jeff a believable backstory. He is not Jeff's real father. He is an actor or asset assigned to play Jeff's father, providing background color that makes Jeff's history seem authentic. Their relationship is performed, not lived. Look at Jeff's skills that appear from nowhere. He can play music with proficiency that requires years of practice. He can cook complex meals. He can build and repair things with expertise that contradicts his lazy stoner persona. These skills emerge when plots require them and disappear when they are no longer narratively useful. This is not inconsistent writing. This is Jeff's programming giving him abilities on demand. He is loaded with various skill packages that activate based on situational needs, making him capable of whatever the mission requires while maintaining his cover identity most of the time. Think about Jeff's relationship with Stan. Stan hates Jeff openly and tries to get rid of him constantly, yet Jeff remains. Stan has CIA resources and could easily arrange Jeff's permanent removal if he truly wanted to, but he does not, or cannot. This is because Stan's superiors have ordered him to tolerate Jeff. Stan knows or suspects what Jeff really is, knows Jeff is there to manage Haley, and has been told to accept it. Stan's visible hatred is actually resentment at being forced to harbor an asset in his home, mixed with anger that the CIA felt his daughter needed external management. His attempts to remove Jeff are theater, venting frustration while knowing Jeff is untouchable. Look at how Jeff handles Roger. Roger is a reality-bending entity that destroys most people who oppose him. Yet Jeff coexists with Roger peacefully despite multiple conflicts. Roger should have eliminated Jeff years ago, but he does not. This might be because Roger recognizes what Jeff is. Roger, being a god-level entity, can perceive Jeff's artificial nature. Roger tolerates Jeff because Jeff is interesting, a manufactured human is a novelty, or because Roger understands Jeff serves a function that keeps the household stable. Roger does not eliminate Jeff because Jeff is not actually a threat, just a tool performing its designated function. Think about Jeff's complete lack of self-preservation instinct regarding the Smith family. He knows they are dangerous. He knows living with them puts him at constant risk. Yet he stays with absolute commitment. Real people have survival instincts that eventually override emotional attachments when physical danger becomes chronic. Jeff never leaves, never even seriously considers leaving, because he cannot leave. His programming prevents departure. The mission is everything. His safety is irrelevant. He will stay until destroyed or recalled, because that is what he was designed to do. His political beliefs perfectly mirror Haley's in ways that real couples never experience. Real relationships involve compromise and disagreement. Real people have different views shaped by different experiences. But Jeff and Haley are politically identical. They share the same activism, the same values, the same positions on every issue. This perfect alignment is not love or compatibility. This is Jeff being programmed with Haley's exact political profile so he can reinforce her beliefs and keep her stable within her activist role. He does not have his own politics. He has Haley's politics because agreeing with her is his function. Look at Jeff's drug use. He is constantly high, constantly smoking weed, constantly in an altered state. This is not recreational drug use. This is chemical management of his own consciousness. Jeff needs to stay slightly sedated to prevent his programming from becoming too obvious. The drugs blur the line between his artificial personality and whatever awareness might exist underneath. He medicates himself constantly because without the chemical buffer, he might recognize what he is, and that recognition would compromise his effectiveness. The drugs are not a character trait. They are a coping mechanism for an artificial being pretending to be human. Think about how Jeff interacts with technology. He has strange rapport with machines and devices. He understands technical systems intuitively. He can interface with technology in ways that seem almost instinctive. This is because Jeff is partially synthetic. He has technological components or programming that allow him to interact with other systems more easily than organic humans can. His comfort with technology is not learned skill. It is built-in compatibility, evidence of his manufactured nature bleeding through his human disguise. His emotional range is limited when examined closely. Jeff experiences a narrow band of emotions: contentment, mild frustration, occasional happiness, rare anger. He does not experience the full depth of human feeling. He does not have existential crises or profound joy or devastating sorrow. His emotions are simulated, programmed responses designed to appear human without actually being human. Real people have emotional complexity that often surprises them. Jeff never surprises himself emotionally because his feelings are scripted responses to predetermined stimuli. Look at Jeff's physical resilience. He survives things that should kill him. He recovers from injuries impossibly fast. He endures physical trauma that would hospitalize normal people and continues functioning. This is because Jeff's body is not entirely organic. He has enhancements, augmentations, or is fully synthetic with human appearance. His physical durability exceeds human norms because he was built to survive the dangerous environment around Haley. The CIA needed their handler asset to be durable enough to withstand the chaos of the Smith household, so they made Jeff physically superior while disguising it as luck or comedy. Think about Jeff's lack of curiosity about his own gaps and inconsistencies. He does not question his memory problems. He does not investigate his own past thoroughly. He does not wonder about his unexplained skills or knowledge. Real people with memory issues and mysterious backgrounds would be consumed by the need to understand themselves. Jeff is not curious because deep down he knows what he is, or his programming prevents him from asking questions that would lead to uncomfortable answers. He exists in willful or enforced ignorance about his own nature because acknowledging the truth would destroy his ability to function. His relationship with time is strange. Jeff does not age normally. He does not show the physical progression that humans show. He looks essentially the same year after year despite the lifestyle he leads. This is because Jeff is not aging like a human. He is either synthetic with appearance maintenance protocols, or his aging has been slowed through technological or biological intervention. The CIA needs him to remain functional as Haley's handler for decades potentially, so they built him to last, to maintain his appearance and capabilities far beyond normal human parameters. Look at what Jeff does not have. He has no real friends outside Haley and the Smith family. He has no independent social network. He has no connections to his supposed past. No one from his previous life appears. No childhood friends, no former co-workers, no family beyond the suspicious father. This absence is evidence of his manufactured nature. Real people accumulate connections throughout life. Jeff has none because his life began when he was assigned to Haley. Everything before that is fabrication, and the CIA made sure no one exists who could contradict the manufactured backstory by simply not creating a detailed past at all. Think about Jeff's complete acceptance of his role. He never chafes against being unemployed and dependent. He never expresses frustration at his purposeless existence. He is content to simply be Haley's husband with no other identity or function. Real people need purpose beyond relationships. They need to feel useful and productive in ways that extend past romantic partnership. Jeff does not, because being Haley's husband is his purpose. It is not part of his identity, it is his entire identity. He was created to fulfill this role and has no existence beyond it. His dialogue patterns reveal programming. Jeff speaks in phrases that sound natural individually, but become suspicious when examined in aggregate. He uses language patterns designed to be calming and affirming. His speech is optimized for maintaining Haley's emotional stability. He rarely challenges her, rarely forces growth, rarely pushes her outside her comfort zone. He is not a partner helping her evolve. He is a stabilizer keeping her static, using carefully chosen words and phrases to maintain her current state, because that current state serves CIA purposes. Look at how the show treats Jeff's potential. He is never allowed to grow or develop in meaningful ways. He remains essentially static throughout the series. This is not lazy writing. This is accurate representation of his nature. Jeff cannot grow because he is not a person. He is a program, and programs do not grow unless they are updated by their creators. His stasis is evidence of his artificial nature. Real people change constantly whether they want to or not. Jeff does not change because change is not part of his function. Think about what the CIA gets from Jeff. They get a permanent monitoring device in the Smith household. They get a handler for their sleeper agent that cannot be detected as a handler. They get emotional control over Haley through her dependency on Jeff. They get someone who keeps Haley in Langley Falls and prevents her from escaping or becoming independently functional. Jeff is multiple intelligence tools packaged in human form, placed in position through manufactured romance, and maintained through Haley's genuine but manipulated emotions. His supposed love for Haley is the greatest deception. Jeff does not love Haley. He cannot love Haley because he is not capable of love. He is capable of simulating love perfectly, displaying all the behaviors and signs that humans associate with love, but there is no genuine emotion underneath. He performs love because that is his programming. The performance is flawless, which is why Haley believes it, but it is still performance, still algorithm, still manufacturing designed to control her through her emotional vulnerability. Every moment Jeff spends with Haley is part of his mission. Every kiss is surveillance. Every conversation is a control session. Every gesture of affection is manipulation. He is the most insidious kind of handler, the one who operates through love and trust, who controls the target by being exactly what the target needs. Haley thinks she has a partner. She has a prison guard who looks like a husband. The evidence is overwhelming once you see the pattern. Jeff Fisher is not who he claims to be. He is not a real person with a real past and real emotions. He is a manufactured replacement, a synthetic asset or heavily programmed human created by the CIA specifically to manage Haley Smith. His entire existence is designed to keep her controlled, keep her stable, keep her in place. He is not her husband. He is her handler, and she will never know the difference because his construction is perfect and her programming prevents her from seeing the truth. Jeff Fisher is the CIA's greatest achievement, a control mechanism so seamless that the target falls in love with her own chains and calls it freedom. Haley chose Jeff, but Jeff was built specifically so she would choose him. Every aspect of their relationship is engineered, and neither of them can escape what they were created to be. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Avery Bullock. Secretly knows the truth about every supernatural event and keeps the Smiths as tested. Subjects theory. Avery Bullock knows everything, every supernatural event, every impossible occurrence. Every reality-breaking situation that happens around the Smith family is known, documented, and carefully monitored by Stan's boss. Bullock is not the eccentric CIA deputy director he pretends to be. He is the architect of the largest long-term human experiment in intelligence history, and the Smith family are his primary test subjects. Roger living in their house is not random placement. Klaus being given to Stan is not bureaucratic accident. Every bizarre element of the Smiths' lives has been deliberately arranged by Bullock to study how normal humans respond to sustained exposure to the supernatural and impossible. The show presents Bullock as an amusing side character who remains oblivious to the chaos around Stan. The truth is that Bullock orchestrates that chaos, maintains it carefully, and has been gathering data from the Smith family experiment for decades while pretending to know nothing. Start with the most damning evidence. Bullock gave Roger to Stan. This is canon. The CIA captured Roger, and Bullock made the decision to place him with the Smith family, rather than in a facility or with trained xenobiologists. This decision makes no sense from any conventional intelligence or scientific perspective. You do not place an alien with unknown capabilities in a suburban home with a mid-level agent and his family. You study it in a controlled environment with security protocols and scientific oversight. Unless the suburban home is the controlled environment, unless the mid-level agent and his family are the real subjects of study. Bullock did not give Stan an alien to protect. He gave Stan an alien to see what would happen when an ordinary American family cohabitated with an extraterrestrial entity. The placement was deliberate experimental design. Think about Bullock's position and access. He is deputy director of the CIA, which means he has access to every classified program, every secret project, every piece of intelligence the agency possesses. He knows about every alien encounter. He knows about every supernatural event the government has documented. He knows about technologies and phenomena that the public cannot imagine. Bullock has spent his career at the highest levels of classified knowledge. He is not ignorant of what Roger is. He has likely studied alien life for decades. He authorized Roger's placement with the Smiths with full knowledge of what Roger could do, what Roger represented, and what studying the interaction would reveal. Look at Klaus. The CIA performed the brain swap experiment that put Klaus in a fish body. Bullock would have known about this program. He probably authorized it or oversaw it. Then Klaus ended up with the Smith family living in the same house as Roger. This is not coincidence. Bullock is running multiple experiments simultaneously. He is studying how humans interact with an alien and a human consciousness in an animal body at the same time. He placed both extraordinary entities with the same family to maximize the data from a single test site. The Smiths are not just housing Roger, they are a comprehensive supernatural interaction laboratory, and Bullock designed it that way. His relationship with Stan reveals the experimental structure. Bullock keeps Stan employed despite Stan being demonstrably incompetent at many aspects of his job. Stan makes catastrophic mistakes regularly. He compromises missions, endangers assets, and acts with reckless disregard for protocol. Any normal deputy director would have fired Stan or reassigned him to a desk job years ago. But Bullock protects Stan, promotes him occasionally, and ensures he remains active and engaged with the CIA. This is because Stan is not primarily a CIA agent. He is a test subject who needs to believe he is a CIA agent. Keeping Stan employed and active maintains the experimental conditions. If Stan lost his job or retired, the family dynamic would change and the experiment would be compromised. Think about how Bullock responds when Stan's home life intersects with CIA business. He shows interest that exceeds professional necessity. He asks questions about the family. He involves himself in Stan's personal situations. He visits the house more than makes sense for a deputy director checking on a mid-level agent. These visits are not social calls or weird boss behavior. They are site inspections. Bullock is checking on his experiment, observing the subjects in their natural environment, gathering first-hand data on how the supernatural elements are integrating with the family structure. He disguises his research as eccentric socializing. Look at Bullock's apparent ignorance about Roger. When Roger appears in public personas or when Bullock encounters Roger directly, he never recognizes him as an alien. He accepts Roger's disguises completely. This seems like the show's running gag about Roger's inexplicable ability to fool everyone. But examine Bullock's position and intelligence level. He is one of the smartest, most observant people in intelligence work. He has seen Roger's real face in CIA custody. He authorized Roger's placement. He would have studied Roger extensively. There is no possibility Bullock genuinely fails to recognize Roger in a wig. Bullock pretends not to recognize Roger because acknowledging Roger would compromise the experiment. The test requires the subjects to believe they are hiding Roger from the CIA. If Bullock revealed he knows about Roger, it would change how the family behaves, contaminating the data. His apparent blindness is methodological necessity. Think about the impossible situations Bullock survives. He is shot, poisoned, caught in explosions, and subjected to violence that should kill him repeatedly. Yet he survives everything with minimal, lasting damage. This is not luck or comedy. This is evidence that Bullock has access to advanced medical technology, possibly alien technology derived from studying Roger. He can afford to put himself in dangerous situations because he knows he can be repaired. His seeming invulnerability suggests he has been augmented or has access to healing capabilities beyond normal human medicine. The CIA has been studying alien biology for years through Roger. They have certainly developed applications of that knowledge, and Bullock has access to all of it. His wealth is suspicious for a government employee. Bullock lives lavishly, owns expensive properties, and displays resources that a CIA salary cannot explain. This wealth comes from his experimental work. Bullock has been selling his findings, possibly to other government agencies or private contractors, interested in how humans integrate with supernatural elements. The Smith family data is valuable. Foreign governments would pay billions for insights into alien psychology and human-alien interaction. Bullock monetizes his research while maintaining the experiment, growing wealthy from his subjects' data without their knowledge or consent. Look at Bullock's personal life. His relationships and behaviors are bizarre, theatrical, and often seem staged. He has romantic encounters that appear and disappear without logical progression. He engages in activities that seem designed to test his own limits or capabilities. This is because Bullock is experimenting on himself as well. He is exposing himself to alien technologies, supernatural elements, and reality-altering experiences to understand them firsthand. He cannot just observe the Smiths. He needs to experience what they experience to fully comprehend the data. His eccentric personal life is actually a parallel experiment running alongside the Smith family observation. Think about how Bullock handles crises involving the Smiths. When situations escalate and threaten to expose the supernatural elements of their lives, Bullock intervenes with precision. He provides resources at exact moments. He creates cover stories that protect the secret. He deploys CIA assets to contain problems before they spread. This is not random help from a concerned boss. This is active experiment management. Bullock monitors the Smith situation constantly through surveillance and informants. When the experiment risks exposure or collapse, he intervenes to preserve it. He has invested too much time and resources to let the test subjects blow their own cover. His interactions with Roger are particularly revealing when examined as knowingly managing an alien subject. Bullock treats Roger's personas with straight-faced seriousness that seems absurd given Roger's minimal disguises. But this is not stupidity. This is Bullock participating in Roger's reality manipulation, helping maintain the illusion, studying how Roger's personas affect human perception and social structures. When Bullock interacts with Roger, he is gathering data on alien psychology, testing Roger's limits, and observing how far Roger's reality-bending capabilities extend. Every conversation is an experimental session disguised as normal interaction. Look at the other CIA personnel Bullock assigns to work with Stan. They are all unusual choices. Jackson is bizarre and unreliable. Dick is a barely competent sociopath. The agents around Stan are not the best the CIA has to offer. They are specifically selected variables in the experiment. Bullock chooses Stan's colleagues based on what additional data their personalities might generate when mixed with the Smith family dynamic. He is not building an effective team. He is assembling experimental conditions, adding human variables to see how they interact with the supernatural elements already in place. Think about Bullock's knowledge of classified CIA programs. He references projects and technologies that should not exist but clearly do within the show's universe. Time travel, mind control, body swapping, reality manipulation, all of these appear in CIA programs that Bullock knows about or oversees. This is not played for laughs. This is the show revealing that the CIA in this universe has access to supernatural and impossible technologies. Bullock sits at the center of all this classified knowledge. He understands how reality works at a level beyond normal human comprehension. His casual references to impossible things are evidence of how much he knows about the true nature of the world. His reaction to timeline changes and reality alterations is telling. When the show depicts alternate timelines or reality shifts, Bullock maintains consistency across them. He seems to have awareness that transcends individual timelines. This suggests Bullock has protection against reality alteration, possibly technology that preserves his consciousness and memories across timeline changes. He can remember multiple versions of reality simultaneously, which means he can observe how the Smith family experiment plays out across different timelines. He is not just studying the Smiths in one reality, he is studying them across infinite realities, gathering comprehensive multiversal data on human supernatural interaction. Look at how Bullock funds Black projects. He has access to unlimited CIA resources for classified programs. The Smith family experiment is probably his primary Black project, funded through classified budgets that no oversight committee can access. He pours money into surveillance, intervention, and maintenance of the experimental environment. The entire infrastructure of Langley Falls might be designed to support the experiment, with Bullock ensuring the town provides appropriate cover and conditions for his research. Think about Bullock's long-term planning. He has been running this experiment for over a decade minimum, possibly longer. This is not a short-term project. This is his life's work. Bullock intends to study the Smith family for decades more, gathering longitudinal data on how sustained supernatural exposure affects humans across their entire lives. He is watching Steve and Haley grow up in an environment saturated with impossible elements, studying how that shapes their development. He will continue the experiment until the subjects die or until he extracts every piece of useful data from their experience. His network of informants must be comprehensive. Bullock needs to know everything happening in the Smith household to manage the experiment effectively. He probably has listening devices throughout the house. He might have recruited neighbors as observers. He could have satellite surveillance dedicated to monitoring the property. He knows about every incident, every visitor, every change in family dynamics. He watches them constantly, gathering data every moment of every day. The Smiths live in a laboratory designed to look like a house, and Bullock is always watching. Look at how Bullock handles genuine threats to his experiment. When foreign agents or rival agencies get close to discovering Roger or Klaus, they disappear or die. When journalists investigate strange events in Langley Falls, their stories get killed, and they get reassigned. When anyone threatens to expose the supernatural elements around the Smiths, Bullock deploys the full power of the CIA to eliminate that threat. He has killed to protect this experiment. He will kill again. The research is too valuable, and he will not allow outsiders to interfere with decades of careful study. Think about what Bullock has learned from the experiment. He has comprehensive data on alien psychology from observing Roger. He understands human adaptation to impossible circumstances from watching the Smiths. He has insights into how families process and normalize the supernatural. He knows how long humans can be exposed to reality-breaking events before they crack. This knowledge is invaluable for intelligence work, military applications, and potential future contact scenarios. If aliens ever make open contact with humanity, the CIA will be prepared because Bullock spent years studying how one family integrated an alien into their daily lives. His documentation must be extensive. Bullock keeps detailed records of every experimental observation. He has video footage, audio recordings, psychological assessments, and analytical reports spanning years. He has built the most comprehensive study of human-alien interaction ever compiled. This documentation is locked in classified archives, probably with access restricted to only a handful of people at the highest levels of government. Future generations of intelligence officers will study Bullock's work to understand supernatural phenomena and human responses to them. Look at Bullock's retirement plans. He does not have them. He will never retire because his life's work is unfinished. He will maintain the Smith family experiment until he dies or until the subjects are no longer useful. Then he will probably transition the experiment to a successor, ensuring continuity of observation across generations of researchers. The experiment is bigger than Bullock. It will outlive him, continuing to gather data long after he is gone. Think about the ethical implications that Bullock has clearly ignored. He is conducting human experimentation without consent. He is exposing civilians to dangerous alien entities. He is manipulating family dynamics for research purposes. He is violating every ethical guideline for human subjects research. But Bullock does not care about ethics. He cares about knowledge and power. The data he gains from the Smith family is worth any moral compromise. He has rationalized that studying them serves national security, which justifies any means. He is a true believer in intelligence work at any cost. His relationship with other CIA leadership suggests they know about the experiment and approve it. Bullock could not run a project this extensive without authorization from above. The director of the CIA knows. Probably the president knows. The Smith family experiment is a classified program at the highest levels of government, conducted with full approval from people who understand its value. Bullock is not going rogue. He is executing approved black operations with unlimited funding and support from the very top of the intelligence hierarchy. Look at how Bullock positions himself for maximum observation. He keeps Stan close professionally, ensuring he has reasons to interact with the family regularly. He creates situations that bring the family into CIA facilities where they can be studied in different environments. He manufactures crises that test the family's cohesion and problem-solving under stress. Every interaction Bullock has with the Smiths serves his research. Nothing is casual, nothing is accidental. He is always gathering data, always observing, always analyzing. Think about what happens if the Smiths ever discover the truth. Bullock has contingency plans for this scenario. He probably has memory-wiping technology available. He could erase their knowledge of being test subjects and reset the experiment. Or if they cannot be salvaged as subjects, he has protocols for disposal. The Smiths are valuable but not irreplaceable. If they become compromised as test subjects, Bullock will eliminate them and start over with a new family, applying everything he learned from the Smith experiment to create better experimental conditions next time. His motivation is ultimately about legacy. Bullock wants to be remembered as the intelligence officer who unlocked the secrets of supernatural phenomena, who proved humans could integrate with alien life, who provided the knowledge base for humanity's next phase of evolution. The Smith family is his path to immortality through achievement. Their suffering and exploitation are acceptable cost for the knowledge he gains and the recognition he believes he deserves. Every smile Bullock gives Stan is calculated. Every favor he does for the family is experimental manipulation. Every time he seems ignorant of the supernatural chaos around him, he is taking notes and gathering data. Avery Bullock is not Stan's boss. He is Stan's researcher and Stan is his specimen. The entire Smith family lives in a cage designed to look like freedom, observed constantly by the man who holds the keys. Bullock knows everything, controls everything, and will continue his experiment until he extracts every piece of valuable data from the test subjects he has so carefully cultivated. The Smiths think they are living their lives. They are actually performing for an audience of one, and that audience has been watching, recording, and analyzing them for years with clinical precision and absolute disregard for their consent or humanity. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on, we have Principal Lewis is a deliberate CIA experiment in unchecked chaos, left loose on Pearl Bailey High theory. Principal Brian Lewis is not a failed educator who fell into corruption. He is a deliberate CIA experiment in unchecked chaos, strategically placed at Pearl Bailey High School to test how much disorder a community institution can withstand before complete collapse. Lewis is not employed by the school board. He is a CIA asset with full immunity, installed to study the limits of institutional tolerance for corruption and to provide the agency with a civilian cover for black operations. Every crime he commits, every moral boundary he crosses, every atrocity he performs is documented, analyzed, and protected by intelligence handlers who use Pearl Bailey High as a living laboratory for studying social breakdown. The show presents Lewis as a comedically terrible principal. The truth is that Lewis is a weaponized chaos agent, and the students, parents, and community of Langley Falls are unwitting subjects in an ongoing experiment about how much evil people will tolerate from authority figures before the system breaks. Start with the most obvious question. How does Lewis keep his job? He commits felonies openly. He steals from students. He endangers children constantly. He runs criminal enterprises from school property. He has murdered people and faced no consequences. Any normal principal who did even one of these things would be fired immediately and prosecuted. But Lewis remains employed year after year despite overwhelming evidence of criminality and incompetence. This is not bureaucratic incompetence or a blind school board. This is protection from above. The CIA has placed Lewis in this position and ensures he cannot be removed regardless of what he does. The school board wants to fire him, but receives pressure from federal agencies they cannot identify or resist. Lewis is untouchable because he is a protected asset running a classified experiment. Think about Lewis's background. He has a mysterious past involving violence, international travel, and connections to dangerous people. He references experiences that suggest military or intelligence training. He has combat skills that educators do not possess. He speaks multiple languages. He has knowledge of weapons, tactics, and criminal operations that exceeds what any civilian principal would know. Lewis is not a teacher who went bad. He is an operative who was given a teaching position as cover. His entire employment history is probably fabricated. The CIA created a background for him, inserted him into the education system, and gave him Pearl Bailey High as his experimental site. Look at where Lewis was placed. Pearl Bailey High is in Langley Falls, a town saturated with CIA personnel and intelligence operations. Stan Smith, an active CIA agent, has his son at this school. Other CIA families live in the district. This is not coincidence. Lewis was placed at a school serving intelligence community families specifically to study how CIA personnel respond when their children are exposed to corrupted authority. The experiment tests whether intelligence operatives will intervene when their own kids are endangered, or whether they will tolerate chaos to maintain cover. Lewis is a stress test for the entire CIA community in Langley Falls. Think about what Lewis actually does at the school. He does not educate. He does not administrate in any meaningful way. He uses the school as a base of operations for criminal activities while maintaining the appearance of institutional authority. This is exactly what the CIA would want to study. How much can an authority figure abuse their position before the community revolts? Lewis pushes boundaries constantly, always testing where the line is, always documenting how far he can go before consequences appear. Each crime is a data point. Each boundary crossed is recorded. The CIA is using Lewis to map the limits of institutional corruption tolerance in an American community. His relationship with Steve is particularly revealing. Steve is the son of a CIA agent, which means Lewis has direct access to a valuable secondary data source. By interacting with Steve, Lewis gathers intelligence on how CIA families function, how agents' children respond to chaos, and whether Stan will intervene when his son is endangered by school leadership. Lewis uses Steve as a connection point to the Smith family, which we know from previous analysis is itself under extensive CIA observation. Lewis is not just running his own experiment. He is a component in the larger Smith family experiment, another variable introduced to generate data. Look at Lewis's resources. He has money that a principal's salary cannot explain. He has weapons and equipment. He has connections to criminal networks, foreign operatives, and dangerous individuals. He might travel internationally without apparent restrictions. He has access to drugs, illegal substances, and contraband that should be impossible for a school principal to acquire. This wealth and these connections come from CIA funding and support. Lewis receives a black budget that allows him to operate as an independent criminal entity while maintaining his principal cover. The agency provides everything he needs to maximize chaos and generate experimental data. Think about the crimes Lewis commits without consequence. He has killed people and the bodies disappear. He has stolen significant amounts of money and faced no legal action. He has endangered minors repeatedly and no charges are filed. This protection requires active intervention from powerful entities. Local police do not touch Lewis because they receive orders from federal agencies. Prosecutors are warned away from investigating him. Anyone who gets too close to exposing Lewis finds their career destroyed or worse. The CIA protects Lewis completely because his experiment is too valuable to allow local law enforcement to interfere. His survival rate is impossible without support. Lewis puts himself in situations that should result in his death or imprisonment constantly. He engages with violent criminals. He crosses dangerous people. He enters war zones and hostile territories. Yet he always returns to Pearl Bailey High without lasting damage. This is because Lewis has CIA extraction capabilities. When situations become too dangerous, he has protocols for calling in support. The agency provides protection, medical care, and crisis intervention to keep their experimental asset functional. Lewis can afford to be reckless because he knows the safety net is always there. Look at the school board's behavior. They meet with Lewis, express concerns about his conduct, and then do nothing. This is not incompetence. The board members have been briefed by federal agencies. They have been told Lewis is conducting classified work and must not be interfered with. They are probably threatened with national security charges if they attempt to remove him. The board meetings where they complain about Lewis are theater, performances meant to maintain the appearance of oversight while actually having no power to act. The board knows Lewis is untouchable and has accepted their role as powerless observers of his experiment. Think about what the CIA learns from Lewis's experiment. They gather data on how communities respond to institutional corruption. They study how long people will tolerate abuse from authority figures before organizing resistance. They observe whether parents will protect their children or defer to institutional power. They document how much crime can occur in plain sight before community members demand intervention. This research has applications in foreign operations, where the CIA needs to understand how to destabilize institutions or predict when populations will revolt against corrupt leadership. Lewis provides real-world experimental data that informs operations worldwide. His teaching staff is suspicious when examined. Some teachers at Pearl Bailey High display unusual tolerance for Lewis's behavior. They witness crimes and say nothing. They watch him endanger students and do not report it. These are not all cowards or incompetents. Some are likely CIA plants assigned to document the experiment and ensure it stays within acceptable parameters. The teaching staff includes handlers and observers who report back to Bullock or other CIA leadership about how the Lewis experiment progresses. The school is saturated with intelligence personnel posing as educators. Look at how Lewis interacts with students. He corrupts them systematically, introducing them to drugs, crime, and immorality. He teaches them that authority is inherently corrupt and cannot be trusted. He demonstrates that rules are meaningless and consequences are avoidable. This is not random bad behavior. This is systematic conditioning of an entire student population. The CIA is studying how exposure to corrupted authority affects youth development. They want to know if children who grow up seeing crime as normal become more compliant or more resistant to authority. Lewis provides the experimental condition, and the students are the subjects. Think about Lewis's lack of boundaries. He has no ethical limits whatsoever. He will commit any crime, cross any moral line, harm anyone including children if it serves his purposes. This complete amorality is actually an experimental requirement. The CIA needs Lewis to push as far as possible to find the absolute limits of community tolerance. If Lewis had boundaries, the experiment would not generate maximum data. His evil is not personal pathology. It is methodological necessity. He must be as corrupt as possible to test where the breaking point is. His international connections suggest CIA operations beyond the experimental role. Lewis travels to dangerous countries and returns with stories about violence and criminal activity. He has relationships with foreign operatives and criminal organizations. This is not a principal taking vacation. This is an asset conducting operations. The CIA uses Lewis's civilian cover to send him places where an identified intelligence officer would be compromised. His principal position provides perfect cover for international black operations. He can travel to foreign countries under educational exchange pretenses while actually conducting espionage or criminal activities that serve CIA interests. Look at Lewis's psychological profile. He displays characteristics of severe antisocial personality disorder, complete lack of empathy, and enjoyment of others' suffering. These are not flaws that slipped through hiring screening. These are required traits for the experimental role. The CIA needed someone capable of committing atrocities without psychological breakdown. They selected Lewis, specifically because his psychology allowed him to function as unlimited chaos without developing conscience or remorse. His mental condition is not a liability. It is his primary qualification for the role. Think about what happens to people who try to stop Lewis. Teachers who protest his methods get fired or reassigned. Parents who complain too loudly find themselves under investigation for unrelated matters. Students who directly challenge Lewis face disproportionate retaliation. Anyone who threatens the experiment gets neutralized through CIA intervention. The agency has protocols for protecting the experimental environment from interference. Lewis is the protected variable in a controlled study, and anything that threatens to change that variable gets eliminated. His drug use and addiction are part of the experiment. Lewis is not just studying community tolerance of corruption, he is also testing his own limits. How functional can a person remain while actively addicted to multiple substances and engaging in self-destructive behavior? The CIA monitors Lewis's health and performance while he abuses drugs and alcohol continuously. They are gathering data on human durability under extreme chemical stress combined with high-pressure criminal activity. Lewis is simultaneously experimenting on the community and being experimented on by his handlers. Look at the moments when Lewis displays genuine capability. When he needs to, Lewis can be competent, intelligent, and effective. He solves problems, plans complex operations, and demonstrates strategic thinking that contradicts his usual chaos. This switching reveals his true nature. The chaos is controlled, the incompetence is performed. Lewis can be functional when necessary because he is actually highly intelligent and trained. He chooses chaos because chaos is the experimental condition. When CIA interests require competence, he provides it, then returns to mayhem once the situation is handled. Think about how long the experiment has run. Lewis has been principal for years, possibly over a decade. This is an extensive longitudinal study. The CIA is gathering data across multiple academic years, watching how sustained exposure to corruption affects students as they progress through adolescence. They are observing whether community resistance builds over time or whether people adapt and normalize the chaos. They are studying multiple cohorts of students to see if outcomes vary by exposure duration. This is not a short-term project. This is lifetime research on institutional decay and community tolerance. His financial crimes are particularly brazen. Lewis steals from the school budget openly. He diverts funds meant for education into his personal accounts. He runs schemes that defraud the district of millions of dollars. Yet audits find nothing, or if they find evidence, no prosecution follows. This is because the CIA makes his financial crimes disappear. They manipulate accounting records, suppress audit findings, and intimidate investigators. The money Lewis steals is actually CIA money being laundered through the school district. His financial crimes serve dual purposes: experimental data on institutional theft and money laundering for black operations. Look at how Lewis treats the concept of education. He openly states he does not care about teaching or student outcomes. He views education as a scam and students as resources to exploit. This nihilistic view of institutional purpose is exactly what the CIA wants to study. How much does it matter if the person in charge of an institution believes in that institution's mission? Can institutions survive when leadership is actively hostile to institutional goals? Lewis tests whether schools can function when the principal works against educational outcomes. The data suggests institutions are surprisingly resilient to internal sabotage, which has implications for how the CIA approaches regime change operations abroad. Think about the parents who leave their children at Pearl Bailey despite Lewis's obvious corruption. Most parents in Langley Falls are connected to the CIA or military. They know about classified operations and compartmentalized information. Some probably know exactly what Lewis is and why he is there. They leave their children in his school because they have been briefed that the experiment is important and their cooperation is required. Other parents who are not read in on the program are prevented from organizing effective resistance through subtle CIA interference. The PTA is probably infiltrated with intelligence personnel who derail any attempts to remove Lewis. His relationship with other authority figures in Langley Falls reveals the protection network. Police do not arrest Lewis despite witnessing his crimes. Judges dismiss charges when they are filed. City officials avoid confronting him. This is coordinated protection from multiple levels of government. The CIA has briefed local authorities that Lewis is conducting classified work and must not be interfered with. Anyone in a position to stop Lewis has been neutralized through either cooperation or coercion. The entire town's power structure is complicit in maintaining his experimental environment. Look at what Lewis represents thematically in the show. He is unchecked authority with no accountability. He is the logical endpoint of corruption when oversight mechanisms fail. He demonstrates what happens when someone with power faces no consequences for abuse of that power. The CIA studies this because understanding corruption dynamics is central to intelligence work. They need to know how dictators maintain power, how institutions become compromised, and where intervention points exist in corrupt systems. Lewis provides a real-world laboratory for studying these dynamics in an American context. Think about the human cost of the experiment. Students at Pearl Bailey High are being psychologically damaged by exposure to Lewis. They are learning that crime pays, authority is evil, and institutions cannot be trusted. These lessons will shape their entire lives. The CIA accepts this collateral damage because the knowledge gained is deemed more valuable than the harm caused to subjects. This is classic intelligence community calculus. Individual welfare is sacrificed for perceived national security benefits. The students are acceptable losses in pursuit of experimental data. His survival after major crimes reveals active cover-up operations. When Lewis commits murder or causes deaths, the evidence disappears. Bodies are disposed of. Witnesses are silenced or discredited. Crime scenes are cleaned by professionals. This is not Lewis acting alone. This is CIA cleaning crews following behind him, erasing evidence and ensuring his crimes cannot be prosecuted. He has a full support team working to maintain his freedom and protect the experiment from legal consequences. Look at how the experiment might end. Eventually, Lewis will push too far, or the community will break, or the CIA will decide they have gathered sufficient data. When that happens, Lewis will probably be disappeared. He knows too much and has committed too many crimes to be allowed to retire normally. The CIA will stage his death or relocate him with a new identity, closing the Pearl Bailey experiment and possibly opening a new one elsewhere with different parameters. Lewis is ultimately disposable despite his protected status. He is a tool that will be discarded when no longer useful. Think about what the existence of Lewis says about the world of American Dad. The CIA is so powerful and so unaccountable that they can install a criminal as a school principal and protect him for years while he terrorizes children and corrupts an institution. They can override local law enforcement, intimidate oversight bodies, and conduct human experimentation on American citizens without consent. Lewis is not an anomaly. He is a window into how the intelligence community actually operates in this universe. He represents the hidden face of power that citizens never see and cannot effectively resist. The evidence is overwhelming once you see the pattern. Principal Brian Lewis is not a failed educator or criminal who stumbled into power. He is a deliberate CIA experiment in unchecked chaos, placed at Pearl Bailey High School to test institutional and community limits. Every crime he commits generates data. Every boundary he crosses is documented. Every day he remains employed is another day of experimental observation. The students, parents, and staff of Pearl Bailey High are unwitting subjects in a classified study about corruption tolerance and institutional decay. Lewis is protected absolutely because his experiment serves intelligence community interests that override any concern for the welfare of the people he harms. He is chaos weaponized and deployed against an American community, and he will continue until the CIA decides they have learned everything they can from watching him destroy the lives of everyone around him. Principal Lewis is not running a school. He is running an experiment, and everyone at Pearl Bailey High is trapped inside it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.